Dr. Dre is in full effect, and I gotta tell y'all a little something. Eazy-E is down with us. MC Ring, you know he's down with us. DJ Yella is down with us. Arabian Prince, you know he's down with us. Tony A the Wizard is down with us. JJ Fag is down with us. Timmy T, you know he's down with us. DJ Pooh Boy is down with us. Toddy P and Spade, they're down with us. My boy Ice Cube, you know he's down with us. I like to mention, so pay attention to where I'm from, Compton, but the tapes are from the Roadium. My name is Dre, listen while I play. And by the way, I'm also down with NWA. Yo, Steve at the Roadium is down with us. Slanging funky tapes, it is a must. We're number one.
Tony A. Tony A. When you're ready, go.
Yo, welcome back to Roadium Radio episode 24. And before I announce my special guest, you know what? Let me go ahead and promote something that I've directed. The Roadium Mixtape DOCUMIXERY, filmed by John Elkins, directed by yours truly, Tony A, the motherfucking wizard. Once again, earlier this week, we released on our Instagram and Facebook that we are on all audio platforms now. Somebody was hitting me, telling me that iHeart wasn't on yet. Give us a couple of days. They actually emailed us and told us that it's going to take a couple of days for our audios to be posted up. But we're on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, etc. on all major platforms. So once again, look for us there. For those first, let's just say 10 people that hit us on the super chat for something $10 or more, we're going to be giving out merch. All you got to do is just go on your IG or on Facebook, send me your address, your name, and we will ship that out to you. So once again, the first 10 people that hit us on that super chat, we're going to be giving out merch, which we'll announce on our next break. Other than that, another announcement that I want to tell you, something that I continuously tell people, that if you have any request, you want to see anybody on this show, you want to send music, send videos, do not DM it to me, do not inbox it to me, and especially do not call me on Facebook, okay? I won't, once I see a link, I will not look at it, I will not answer it. Send everything to rodiumradio@gmail.com. rodiumradio@gmail.com. That's where everything is at. Send your music, your videos, questions, comments, complaints, whatever the hell you want to send it there. Do not DM it to me, and do not tell me, hey, have you heard my music? I will get to it in a timely manner. Give me time, okay? Other than that, my other announcement is we most likely will have a doubleheader this week. On Wednesday, I will have 2 artists coming in from the Harbor area. That is the only clue that I'm going to give you. That will be Wednesday night. On Thursday, I will probably be doing another interview, and the other hint of the artist that I would be having is somebody from the Bronx, from New York. He will be here on Thursday. He has yet to confirm. That was not confirmed yet, but we will most likely be doing Wednesday and Thursday. And let me tell you something. You are gonna want to tune in to both. But on Thursday, we're going to be talking about hip hop and the origins of hip hop and why it sounds the way it does. And it is due to this man that I will be bringing in from New York on Thursday. So, but without further ado, please allow me to introduce the Talk Box Queen, Magic Girl.
Hey, what's up, Tony?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was the drive over here?
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah?
It was pretty good.
You know, a lot of people, when I book them, they like to do Sundays because they want to miss all that LA traffic.
Right.
So that's a good thing. I know we're still in January. We just got out of the holidays. So before we get going with this interview and what you're doing now, what can we expect? And I know there are certain topics that you do want to address that people have been waiting for you to address. I want to ask you, how were your holidays, beginning with Thanksgiving?
They were pretty good.
Yeah?
We spent them in the new house this year, so super grateful for that. Blessings always. And got to see a lot of family that I haven't seen in a while. So they went pretty good.
Okay. Did you cook?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes.
The turkey and everything?
I helped with most of it. Just because mom is kind of at that,
Okay.
kind of at the age where I don't want to do it. My kids are old enough, you know.
Okay. And what about Christmas? How was your Christmas?
Christmas was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you give away a lot of gifts, or are you at that stage now where do you get a lot of gifts, or are you at the stage where you're just giving gifts?
Oh, we don't get anything. We never got anything growing up. My dad was like, "Why am I gonna buy you something when I buy you whatever you want every day?"
You know what? That's true.
So, but other than that, I did do a fundraiser with a new album that I was promoting. It's called "Shut the Funk Up." We raised money for a nonprofit. I did write a check out. I know everybody's still waiting for their hard copies. We did have a little bit of a legal issue with the distribution.
Yes.
So everybody who donated is actually going to get a complete refund and still get their free copy of the CD. We wrote a check out on behalf of Magic Girl Entertainment to a private nonprofit organization, and we were able to donate $4,000 privately.
Oh, that's dope.
This Christmas compared to last year, I think we did like $3,000.
Okay.
So that's kind of a thing I like to do every year, use the power of music, the power that I got in the support of fans to do stuff like that, because not a lot of people do stuff like that. So.
Right. No, that's really, really good. And I'm glad you brought that up. Like for me, like, I'll be honest, I don't give shit for Christmas anymore. You know, I usually just give. But you know what? I'm a cheerful giver. I really, really like to give.
Yeah, me too.
I really
I don't ever expect anything in return. People are like, "Oh, we got you," and I'm just like, "Nah, I just feel like giving you something."
Right,
you know?
right. How did you spend New Year's?
New Year's, I was sleeping.
Really?
Yeah.
No countdown, no nothing.
Nah, you can hear everybody in the other room, but I was kind of like, it gets old.
Yeah, no, I stayed home, and I think I was in my pajamas, and I think I was wearing my Griswold shirt from the Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase. So I pretty much just stayed home. I'm not really the party animal anymore. I'm getting old now, I guess. But other than that, again, before we get into what you do, I want to talk about how it all started. Like, for an example, what city were you raised in? Where did you grow up at?
I was born in Bakersfield, California, so County of Kern. And I was born in the east side of Bakersfield, so I was in the very grimy part. I guess they call it Tweaker Central, where it's like. So I lived in an area, for people who lived there and know, I lived right across the street from the train tracks on Jackson and Kern. There used to be a park there. It was a very notorious park. We used to call it Hobo Park.
Okay.
Before the city took it down, there used to be like hundreds of like homeless people and just drug addicts that were just there. And that was the environment that I grew up in up until, we moved out maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I lived in the same house. And prior to that, my dad had lived there since he was like 10 or 11 years old. So that's all I knew, was just growing up, you know, from the east side. I was, grew up in the east side, in the hood, in the ghetto.
Right.
I went to continuation high school. Got into some trouble in high school, got kicked out for fighting. And that was pretty much growing up. So I grew up just Bakersfield. I've always been in Bakersfield. It's
funny that you say Hobo Park. We got one down the street we call it Bum Park. Yeah. That's what we do. They all hang out there. So if we could back up a little bit, in case people that are fans may one day go through Bakersfield, what elementary school did you go to? I
went to Longfellow Elementary School.
Longfellow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know this is gonna sound dumb, but did you graduate from that school?
Yeah.
The reason why I asked, because me going to elementary school, I had a bunch of friends that never finished elementary. Like, they never got to graduate. But it was funny, they actually did go to my graduation just to see me graduate, even though they couldn't. So. Right. And junior high school?
It was Washington Junior High. I did graduate 8th grade year. And then high school was, I went to Highland High School for a little bit, then got kicked out and went to continuation high school, what happened to be TDS, Tierra del Sol, which was a brand new continuation high school for students who needed help. Okay. And I got kicked out my freshman year of high school. But I ended up graduating a year and a half early.
Oh, okay.
So I finished high school I graduated at 16 and a half.
Oh, wow.
High school. So I got out of high school early.
So are you what we call una peleonera? Like, did you like to fight? Is that what it was?
I have, had a very bad temper.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I could understand because
I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut when people were direct themselves inappropriately to me. I didn't know how to shut up.
You know what? I think I'm still going through that. So, but I try. I think I'm getting better. Even at my old age, I think I'm getting better. At home, living at home in Bakersfield, what kind of music did you grow up with? As far as like, what would your mother and your father play at home? Did they play different music? Did they play the same? What would you raise with?
I was raised with a variety of music. My dad is actually a musician from a very famous band. It's called Grupo Anhelo.
Uh-huh.
They're like in the genre of like the Bookies, Industria,
Okay.
Mafiosos, all that stuff. Grupera.
Okay.
So I listen to a lot of Spanish music, and I come from a big family of musicians, so it was always Spanish music. But I wasn't introduced into hip hop until after high school,
Okay.
because I grew up in a Christian home.
Okay.
So I never really had an interest for the outside because my parents never really taught us what, secular music was, or, anything that wasn't church music. So when I was introduced to hip hop, it was something totally new for me. So I think it helped in a way because I was being influenced by a different type of genre of music,
Right.
Like growing up, a lot of people don't know that I was actually a drummer. I'm a drummer. I grew up playing drums at church.
Wow.
So for a long time, I played with the band at church, and all I listened to was like gospel music. I listened to a lot of Kira Sheard, to the Clark Sisters, Lily Goodman, Crystal Lewis, a bunch of major Christian artists. And I knew who Tupac and Biggie was.
Right.
But I never knew anything more than that, like Queen Latifah, Da Brat, like stuff more deeper,
Right.
like deeper rap. I never knew what that was until after high school.
Wow. How old were you when you started playing drums?
I was about 6 when I got the interest. My dad was kind of like, no, you're a girl, but after my cousin and his friend were kind of like, yeah, she could play, dude, she could play. They kind of just mentored me, and
Right.
and it just stuck with me.
Did you want to do it?
Yeah, I wanted to. I fought and bit and scratched everybody till I told my dad, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I like to do. It took him a while to accept it, but
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe he wanted me to play piano like him or something, but
Right.
Okay.
And now share with me a little bit about your dad. You said he was in a group. Do you know how that got started and what instrument, what role did he play in the group?
He was one of the original members for Grupo Anhelo. He played the keyboards actually, and it's
Okay.
funny because I didn't know until recently that they called him Las Manos Mágicas, which means the magic hands.
Wow.
And I was like, dang, well, my name's Magicka. I guess that's where I get it from, So
Right.
for years, he played with them. I think he started playing with them when he was like 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hit big, and he did stadiums and stuff with like 20,000 plus, where he was just playing with all kinds of crazy big names. And growing up, that was all I knew. I'd walk into venues, and it was weird because people, they get starstruck, and
Right.
I'd see people from like Industria or big bands, and
Right.
they'd see me and they'd be like, hey Mija, where's your dad? And I'm like, oh, over there. Like it was that kind of relationship,
Wow.
So, and throughout the years, my dad met on a lot of people. I'm still surprised. I run into people and they're kind of looking at me like, hey, I think I know you. And I'm just like, you probably know my dad. Like we look
Right.
exactly the same.
Really?
And they're like, oh yeah, the dude with the hair. Yeah, we know my dad. Your dad, So
If my daughter's watching this, it's funny that you bring up the drums because I have a daughter named Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. I never told her this, and maybe I should have done it, but I wanted her to find out her own gifting. She's going to school to become a teacher, and she just kind of like, how would you say, backed off. She started coaching cheer for varsity at my old high school, batting high school in the city of Wilmington. So she was a cheer coach, but she backed off just so she can concentrate in school. But one thing she never knew, that I always wanted her to play drums, and I never, never did it for her. But I would have dreams of seeing her play drums, but I wanted her to choose her own way. So,
yeah.
But now, other than drum, when you growing up, did you find any other interest in any other instruments?
I've always wanted to play guitar, but until this day, like I can't.
Really?
Like I just can't. So I think it'd be drums and piano is like my main thing, my go-to instruments. Everything else was kind of like, off. I did drumline in high school. So I did Black Watch. We did all the competitions and everything. I think I played clarinet in elementary. Oh yeah, I did play clarinet and then saxophone for a little bit in elementary, but just band stuff. But other than that, no, I never really it never stuck to me.
Right. It's funny. As much as I am into music, I try. I'm a man of very little patience. I tried to figure shit out. Like I could play keyboards enough to tell you, look, I want this. Can you play this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here's what you're trying to play. That's what I'm trying to fucking play. But I never had to pay. I actually went to a school to teach me, and me and the teacher got into fucking arguments. We kept going back and forth. Don't fucking talk to me like that, bro. Okay, I'm fucking barely learning. Well, you're not fucking listening to me. Well, because you're a fucking asshole. You don't know how to fucking teach. Like, that's how we went back and forth.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting my money back and I left. But anyways, yeah, I never got into it. Now, growing up in the church, you played drums in the church, you said. For how long do you say you played drums in the church? Couple of years?
About 6, and then up until recently, about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, even till about 2 years ago. And some people they wouldn't understand. I would cancel gigs or shows when they say, hey, our drummer didn't make it today. We need a drummer for Sunday service. I'd be like, what, I can't make it this week, and I'm sorry. I canceled the show completely and go help out. And I don't think people really understood that. I think it's just the way I was raised.
Yeah.
To have a certain type of respect for God and who He is.
Yeah.
I respect everybody for what they believe in, but that's just who I believe in. And having that fear inflicted by my parents was always like, church first, then everything else comes after. And I found that to be a blessing, because every time I'd cancel a show, 2 or 3 more would come up.
Wow.
So,
that's awesome.
In a way, so it was good.
See, to me, I was raised Catholic, and what does that really mean? Absolutely nothing. You could do pretty much whatever the hell you want to do as long as you showed up to church on Sunday, and I rarely ever did that. I was like a see me Catholic. What that means, you only see me on Christmas. You only see me, at a quinceañera. And that was pretty much it, But I never was really a religious person. And like yourself, I respect people for what they believe in. I have my own personal beliefs now as an adult, that I never try to enforce or try to push on anybody. I like to respect everyone. If anybody asks me, then I'm an open book and I'll share.
Same here.
And I'm glad that you share that. Now, growing up, I've had friends that grew up in church, and then eventually started doing music, secular music. How did your family feel about you venturing out and doing music outside the church?
They really didn't oppose to it, just because my parents are more like, you're an adult now, you can make your own decisions.
Right.
But my father is always the one like, hey, Mija, if you were to use what you have for ministry, do you have any idea what you're capable of?
Right.
And it's like, I know, Dad, it's within my heart, trust me, I promise, but it's always like, I'm not ready for it. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of like a fine line between that topic, but they were never against it and they were never with it, if you get what I mean. They were kind of just in the back watching, like, this is your decision because that's your walk, not mine. Right.
Okay. Now, growing up in church, you're listening, like you said, you've heard Biggie, you heard Tupac. What is your first memories, if you will, when you first started hearing rap? Who was it, or where did you see it at, or who was playing it, or do you remember what song that was?
It was Biggie, going back to CALI.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was Biggie.
Okay, now what was it? Because that song has more bounce, and you play talk box.
Yeah.
But what was it about that song that you said, that shit is dope, like that shit is hot?
I think it was just the hook, just everything, And when he dropped that first verse, I was like, damn, that shit's tight.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just nodding my head. I was asking my cousin, like, what is this? And he's like, that's Biggie. Like, when I first got introduced to Biggie, and it was like, oh, dang, that's tight. And then I started, obviously Biggie and Pac are the first ones that are going to come up when you do 90s hip hop. Right. They're the first thing in the search engine. So that was all I knew. And then I started getting more into depth. And then I started, listening to Daz, Corrupt, everybody knew who Snoop was, so that was kind of stupid not to know who Snoop was.
Right.
And Dre, everybody knew who Dre was. But other than that, I never really knew, like I said, other artists out of, the 5 golden few that are just out there.
You know, it's funny because I shared this before. Of course, with me, I was in elementary school when Rapper's Delight first came out.
Right.
And then the second rap I ever heard was actually from a white woman named Blondie. She was she had a song called Rapture, and she did her rapping on that song. Of course, I got to see hip hop evolve. I'm a lot older than you, so I got to see hip hop pretty much from the very, very beginning. Me personally, I have a hard time getting into today's music. I love Biggie. I love Pac. I met Pac when he was about 19 years old. Met him actually in Oakland. Biggie, I never got to actually shake his hand, but we were in the same building. He was actually going to go do a mixtape with my boy DJ Jam from San Diego. Much love and respect to DJ Jam. And I said, what are you doing here? He goes, oh, I'm going to do a mixtape. We were in SKANLESS studio owned by Steve Yano in the city of Alhambra. And he goes, Biggie's about to come over here and rap. I said, okay, cool. And he goes, do you know who that is? And I go, no. He had just dropped his first album.
Right.
Okay. So he's coming in, I see him, and I just remember, because I remember seeing his crooked eye, and that's what stood out to me, you know. And I was like, what's up, dude? He was like, oh, what's up, man? But that was it. So I didn't know who he was going to become.
Right.
You know. I'm going to have somebody on here soon that had Biggie actually come to his store, and he didn't know who he was, because it was Craig Mack's album that had just dropped, and Biggie was just going along for the ride, and he took a picture with both of them. And he didn't know that Biggie later on was going to blow up.
Right.
And when Biggie blew up, actually he called him and he said, can I go to your store, sign autographs? And he said, yeah, cool. You know, so he'll be coming on here soon. But now, did your parents oppose to you playing that stuff at home?
No, not at all.
No? Okay.
No.
See, mine did.
If it was blaring, like where they can hear it, then yeah, it was like, hey, you know what, don't play that. You know, but also, I think the cool thing about my dad being a musician, he taught us the difference between, you know, listening to the lyrics and actually letting the lyrics tell you what to do, in a sense. Right. You know what I'm saying? So he understood that, you know, it runs in our blood to love music, all types of genres of music. Right. You know, and I found something new. So they didn't oppose to it at all. Okay.
And around... how old were you when you first said, or were interested or started dabbling in, I want to start doing somewhat hip hop, you know, I want to start getting into it. What was the first thing you know, if you're a male producer, I would say, when did you get your first drum machine? But for you, what do you think it was that you started playing? Was it a keyboard? Did you go back to the drums? That I want to start doing hip hop, you know? Do you remember when that started?
Yeah, I was actually in my deathbed.
Really?
Yeah. About a couple of years ago, I think it was 2014. Wow. My appendix had ruptured, but it ruptured in a way to where it wasn't fully, it ripped from the top and it was leaking. So it never fully ruptured. So what happened was I thought I had food poisoning. Yeah. And I was sick for a couple weeks. And what was happening is that all the toxins it was accumulating in my body. So a couple weeks went by. I got up and I was like, oh, I felt my leg. I was like, Mom, I felt something rip. You know, my mom's old school Mexican, like, go to sleep, go lay down.
Put some Vicks on it.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Like, stop exaggerating. You know, you got to go to work tomorrow. So something happened, and then I was like blacking out, and then my mom ended up taking me to the doctor, and they're like, hey, we need to get your daughter into surgery now, or she might not make it in the morning. So I got into surgery. So it was that my recovery was almost 2 years. I want to say a year and a half. I had pumps and hoses sticking out of me for about 7 or 8 months. So I was walking around that. Like, I would go to the store and try to hide it. Mm-hmm. So it was so embarrassing because the tubes are clear. Like, you would see everything just a mixture of blood and everything just coming out. And I was walking around with that for like 7 or 8 months. And I got to a point where I was getting really depressed. Like, I thought I wasn't going to feel better. I was in a very dark moment in my life. Yes. And there was 3 days that I don't remember. And, you know, mom had told me, like, you know, I apologized to my mom because I just remember throwing my phone at her and yelling at her. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I told her like that. Right. And I probably remember, I was like, I'm sorry if I yelled at you. I said, I remember I yelled at you. And she's like, you know what, mija, it's okay. I already knew what this was.
Right.
And Mom, being a strong woman, we had lost my sister to leukemia a couple years before that.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
So, thank you. So Mom, having that motherly instinct, I already knew what that was. She's like, I already knew what it was, mija. And so after I woke up, everything, you know, we had some situations there, and then some people from the church came over and prayed and stuff like that. You know, God did his work. He did what he had to do there. And then I found this genuine interest for music for some reason. I was on YouTube, and then I found, this is back when the Native Instruments released the machine.
Okay.
The first one, the MK2.
Yes.
I saw it, and back then it was like $1,000. There was like 9 something. And then my dad's like, what is it? What can I do to make you feel better? I just want you to feel better. Stop being depressed. And I was like, buy me this drum machine. Like, I want this drum machine. And he saw that I really had an interest for it. He's like, I'm going to buy you this, but I want you to get better. So Dad bought me the drum machine. He went and bought it like a day later. Came home with it. He brought me a brand new MacBook. Like, I got the hookup.
Wow.
And I started with massive everything Native Instruments. So it was like extremely expensive back when it was coming out. So I was like tripping. I was like so excited. And then I started getting into sampling and looping and stuff like that. And from there, it kind of just took off. Like, it brought out another side of me that I didn't know I had. Like, I've always been in a family of musicians. I've always loved music, but I never knew I was capable of doing what I wanted to do.
Wow.
That's how I found what I wanted to do. I never in 1,000 years thought I would be producing or writing records.
Wow. You know what? That's an amazing story right there. And again, I guarantee you, a lot of people probably never even knew this side of you. And that's why I like to do these things, because not only do I want to shine light on up and coming artists, but also, and not only on our people, but also on people who, see, I bring people on here, and here's what the majority of the time they say: why are you bringing that fucking asshole on there? He don't deserve it. He don't. And then once they share their story, those people see them differently now.
Right.
And I want them to see them more for who you are, and not so much the artist, because that's just what you do.
Right.
You know. But I think it's amazing that you discovered another side of you, or another gift, because that dark time in your life just opened the door for something brighter. You know, and that's a beautiful story. Before, when you started dabbling around with the drum machine, your laptop and everything, was there anybody instrumental that helped you? Like, well, you sampled like this is a bar, this is this. Was there anybody that helped you, or maybe you might have saw that encouraged you, like, wow, you got a fucking dope ass style, or anybody help you along the way as far as when you first started? Or was it just all you?
No, I was self-taught. I was so, Dad didn't know much of it because he was old school analog. My father produced countless records for a lot of artists.
Wow.
There's pictures of me in diapers on a big old analog mixer and this, you know.
That should be your next album.
Right? And so I was always around that, but Dad never knew anything of the new modern stuff, you know, like he didn't know anything out of analog.
Okay. All right.
So everything was self-taught. It was just YouTube, what YouTube was back then in 2014, and my drive, my want, the desire to want to do
it. And that's why you're here. Awesome. Listen, we're going to go ahead and press pause real quick. We're going to go ahead and go to a 10-minute break. We're going to come back, and you brought us some of your little toys here. You're going to give us a dope little demonstration, and we can't wait to hear it, and I can't wait to show you off and let the people see what you can do. So once again, Roadium Radio, Magic Girl is in the building. Call somebody, text somebody, page somebody, slap somebody, let them know that Magic Girl is in the building. We'll be back after this 10-minute break. We're going to have some merch we're going to be giving away. So the first 10 people that hit us on the super chat for at least $10, we're going to mail something out to you. Okay. So once again, the first 10 people, we'll know exactly who you are, but you're going to have to DM us or inbox us your name and address so we can ship it out to you. Okay. And we'll know if you're lying, if you're just going to ship me your address. I don't play that crap. So make sure. All right. We'll be back 10 minutes. Yo, welcome back to Roadium Radio, episode 24 with Magic Girl in the building. I hope you guys call somebody or text somebody or at least slap the hell out of somebody for acting stupid on the comments. But it's all good. Once again, the first 10 people that hit us on the super chat, if you don't hit us, you know, you ain't going to send you nothing. So once again, we got some merch coming up. So hit us on the super chat. Other than that, had a couple of more announcements. We're on once again on all major platforms now, podcast, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify, etc. You should better have seen that on the break. But we're gonna go ahead and return back to Magic Girl. She's got her little toy in front of us. But before she actually gives us a demonstration of what she's gonna do, there was actually a video of Roger Troutman, may he rest in peace, that he came out with in 1987 when he did an interview. And we're going to go ahead and roll that, and we're going to go ahead and let people see it. After this, we'll open it up for discussion again, and you give us your demonstration on what you do.
Right.
You know, so once again, rest in peace, Roger Troutman. For those of you that have seen it, you're going to see it again. For those of you that haven't seen it, this will be a treat. Go for it, Johnny.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Video Soul, and it makes you feel good. Yes, it does. Don't you believe it?
But yeah, I always use it on I was really using it like on songs like when we first started, it was like
more bounce, more bounce, much more bounce, mama, baby,
and you know, it just seemed to work, and I started using it on cover songs like "Heard It Through the Grapevine."
Yeah.
And I don't know, people started saying, well, you know, you can't sing, man, what you're trying to prove, you kind of this shit, that's a gimmick, blah, 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 blah. So I said, well, I'm just going to turn the whole thing around, and I'm going to do a love song with it. And that's when we came out with the penetrating, syrupy jam that came out like,
baby, you're my computer love, digital love. Look at all this more, yes, little.
Yo, thank you for that. Once again, that was Roger Troutman. You got my mic up, Johnny boy? Yeah. Once again, that was Roger Troutman. May he rest in peace. I remember when I first heard More Bounce, that was in 1980. I was 12 years old. And I want to say I was in 8th grade. And I thought it was one of the most fucking amazing things ever. I always like to say that I think More Bounce, just that beat, so it started gangster shit. Yeah. You know, back then there were pop lockers, and breakdancing to fucking More Bounce. More Bounce was just the shit. If you had that record, you didn't have to play any other song. You could just play that one fucking song. Even if it was 10 to 12 minutes long, you play that motherfucker all the way through, because that's a never-ending classic. It'll always be a classic. So I say you have one of your toys here in front of us. Can you share with us exactly what it is that you're going to be doing and demonstrating? Or
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the most asked questions is, do you talk into this? You know,
okay.
You do absolutely nothing. The sound comes out of the keyboard into this driver and comes out of this.
Okay.
Comes out of here.
Okay.
So you're pretty much speaking without using your voice.
Okay.
So
let's check it out.
like, for example, see, what can we do?
California knows how to party. California knows how to party.
Stuff like that.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
I fell in love with this after I heard a ringtone from a coworker. I didn't know what the hell this was. I was Googling like an idiot, like robotic sound, robot voice, and because I was too embarrassed to ask, I was like, dude,
right.
Like, you know, it's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know that song. And then I ran into a video, and then I ended up buying my own. I bought my own driver, but I didn't have enough money to buy an actual microcord.
Okay.
So I used my knowledge that I had with Native Instruments and actually made my own patch and massive and used that. So I was pulling up to shows with the MIDI keyboard and a driver, and I was scaring the crap out of the engineers because I'd pull up and they'd be like, oh, what do you need? What do you need? I'm just like, I just need a mic. That's all I need.
Right.
And I was even tripping out some of the talkboxers had been doing it. Like, how are you connecting the stuff to your MIDI keyboard and your laptop, and you have an interface, and you have all this and that? It's like it's basic science for me,
Right.
but for everybody else, it's like algebra. You know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's how it kind of was for scratching, because today, as weird as this may sound, there's names for scratching. Back then, you just fucking scratched. Like, I never said this is a name for this, but to them, it was like, well, we got to name it something. No, you don't. But for you, it just came naturally.
Yeah.
You know, that's dope. That's dope. Anything else you want to share with us or play for us?
Yeah.
I'm addicted to this shit, so that's why you could just play for me if you like. So.
Yeah, actually, the first record that I actually did on the talk box was actually a record that I did for Mr. Capone, and was "Let's Just Get Away."
Okay.
Funny thing about that record is when I first got my my beat machine, I was like, "Hey, I want to produce a record for somebody," and little did I know, years later I'd cross paths with him, and I showed him the record. I was like, "Hey, I did this for you, dog, like a couple of years ago." And he's like, "No way, tripping out." And it just came in like nothing while we were in the studio. And he played the beat. He's like, "Oh shit, you produced this?" Yeah. And then the talk box came in with the iconic line. There's even people doing tutorials on how to play it, and it was tripping me out. So it's the "Let's Just Get Away." So jump into my caddy and let's go for a ride. Let's just get away. No. Ooh, I really hate it when you make me cry. Let's just get away.
Wow.
So when he heard that, he's like, "Oh shit, that's a banger. We got to do that one." And after that, it was kind of like, I'm gonna stick to this.
Right.
You know. And then I started pulling up to shows for shits and giggles because I did this cover of Saturday Love, Sherelle's Saturday Love, and then people started paying me like, here's $100, here's $200, thanks for coming out. And then I started listening, like, oh shit, I can make money off this.
Right.
So, and I never thought that I was gonna. My intention was never to be an artist. It was always shits and giggles.
Right.
I never knew that I would be here where I'm at today, but this instrument here has opened so many doors for me that I would have never imagined being here 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Right. Can I hear a demonstration of that Sherelle song?
I can find the key. It's been a while since I played it.
It's okay. Take your time. I mean, you're playing a different key. I think people are enjoying it.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, love. There it is.
There it is. That's
there
dope.
It is, so.
That's dope. Okay, now, before we go on with this talk box, let me go back a little bit. When did you first take interest in playing keyboards?
I think I guess when I was little, I always saw my dad do it, and then before my sister passed, she always had an interest in doing it, and then I figured if you don't know how to play keyboards, you can't really make beats. So
right.
Up until this day, I wouldn't know where to tell you what a C note is on the scale. I just know it's the white button under the 2 black lines next to the 3.
Right.
So that's all I know. Like, I play by ear.
That's really good. It's funny. Every musician that I ever hired played by ear, because sometimes I would hear something and I would hum it to his ass. And he would like, "Is this what you're hearing?" And I'm like, "That's exactly what I'm hearing."
Yeah.
So, and then sometimes, of course, he would elaborate and say, "You know what? Let's add this to it." So I just never had the patience to learn, but I always wanted to teach both of my boys how to play, because if you want to learn how to play music, start here, and then from there we just open up doors.
Right.
Now, I know this might be self-explanatory. Who was the first person that you heard that inspired you to look into the talk box, or was it Roger and Zap?
It was Roger.
Okay.
It was definitely the Zap band. And then I wasn't introduced in 2 Fingers until, I'm gonna say, like a year or 2 after I had my box.
Okay.
I didn't know who Fingers was.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit. Like, I started listening, and then I became a fan.
Right.
And then after that, after I started, surfacing, everybody's like, "Hey, yo, I need your patch. And it's like, dude, why is my patch the holy grail of talkboxing?
Right.
So I just had a different ear for it, I guess. I mean, it fell into, everything fell into place like it should. And now it's just the talk boxing community is so big and united. It's amazing because now, actually, I have my other toy, which is the Electro Spit, that is a wireless talk box. It's a mobile talk box.
Wow.
And that was actually created by Bosco. For those who don't know who Bosco is one of the legendary producers. He's been a Tupac. He's produced for, he's been E40 Records. And I've had the opportunity, to meet up with Bosco and have this product in my hand. And now it's my go-to tool when I'm in the studio. It's good for, I've still haven't developed a, kind of a used to it yet, because we just, I barely got my hands on mine. So I use it in a more controlled environment, but now we're transitioning to using it to live only. So now it's going to be none of this wires and, guts hanging out. It's just my keyboard, the Electro Spit, and that's it.
And that's what they call it, the Electro Spit?
Electro Spit, yeah.
Wow. So now, how many years combined now have you say that you've been playing the talk box now?
I would say a solid 4.
Okay, solid 4. And I mean, like, have you ever? Because I see you got the Korg. Have you ever tried to hook it up with the Mini Moog, which was most people in the '90s when I hired to play talk box on my songs, they would hook it up to the Mini Moog.
I've tried one. I've tried the Mini Moog, and I also have tried the DX100, which is what MC Magic uses and Zap they use.
Right.
I've just never gotten my hands on one, so I've just kind of stuck to the micro Korg. But rumor has it, I still haven't went down, even though he's invited me thousands of times to come down to the studio. Fingus's driver is like, it'll make anything as powerful as that Moog sound. Like, I know it sounds, I always tell everybody, I know it sounds a little inappropriate, but just that feeling of the low bass, it's like every talk boxer knows you want to feel that. It's just something different. Unless you're a talk boxer, you wouldn't really understand.
Right, I understand. I know 3 people that Roger made them talk boxes for. Sir Jinx, DJ Quick, and another guy by the name of Fred Rick. He did a lot of stuff for Dog Pound. Fred Rick was one of the first guys that I got to play talk box on one of my songs. That was in 1997. I did a song for Mellow Man Ace, and it never came out. But I still have it on 2-inch reel and actually on that machine, that tape as well. But all of those guys played it on the Mini Moog. The thing that it's hard about the Mini Moog, because Roger, as you can see his demonstration, he knew all the oscillators, he knew all the sounds, and it's really, to me, I collected Mini Moogs. That's why I asked. I had the Micro Moog. I had like 5 different ones. The actual Mini Moog, but you have to know what you're fucking with to get the right sound. Yeah. And that's the hard part. For me, I was like, fuck that. So I would tell my boy, come here, man, I want this sound. I would go to an old rock song. Like, for an example, when I first heard the first talk box, I didn't know it was a talk box because they called it The Bag, which was Peter Frampton. And I'm trying to remember the name of the song but he was like, wah, 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 and he played it off of a guitar. Yeah. And I thought that shit was so fucking dope. I didn't know what it was. And then later on, 1980, I heard More Bounce. And I thought that shit was fucking insane, But now, let me ask the question that a lot of people may know or may not know. How did you get the name Magic Girl?
It all goes back to shits and giggles. At that time, I was dealing with a person who was actually the cause of a lot of drama and downfalls of my career, unfortunately. We were in the studio one day. We're like, hey, we got to get a name for you. And we're like, okay. And it's not really, not to talk shit about anybody. This is just what happened.
Right.
And he said, let's do MC, what he said? MC Sugar Fingers or something like that. I was like, fool, you're fucking retarded. Like, that sounds so stupid. And then we ended up coming in with names, and then I was like, dude, let's just do Miss Lady Magic. So I was formerly known as Miss Lady Magic prior to being Magic Girl. And for those of people who are really true Magic Girl fans know that. And he's like, yeah, so it'll be like, he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. It's a mixture of everything, like Miss for the Miss Lady Pinks, and then the Lady for I think it was Lady Shy or something like that, some rapper. And then the Magic for MC Magic. I was like, no, dude, like it just sounds cool, you know. And that's how the name come apart. And then it was just a joke. I never took it seriously, but he started telling everybody, yeah, that's Miss Lady Magic. That's Lady Magic. And then so everybody started calling me Lady Magic, and now everybody just calls me Magic. So after I signed over to High Power, we were gonna change my name again, because unfortunately I got screwed over, you know, copyrights and stuff like that. They ended up buying Miss Lady Magic, so I couldn't use that name anymore. So we're like, let's change your name. And we were thinking, and then we ended up coming up with Magic Girl. And you know, Capote was like, hey, you know, let's run it by MC Magic out of respect. I was all right, we can do that. So I texted him, and he texted me back immediately. He's like, yeah, mija, there's nothing. I just want to make sure, you know, because I really wasn't trying to use Magic at all from the beginning, because I didn't want to make it seem like I was trying to build a career off of something he already did. But in a way, it made sense, because it's kind of like, okay, everybody knows Magic for Talkbox, so why not be Magic, you know?
Right.
So, and then everybody was already calling me Magic, so it was kind of hard to go from Magic Girl to like something different, like example, just Lady of Rage or some crazy rapper name, you know. So it was kind of hard. It always just stuck with me, and I kind of just got stuck with it.
Okay.
So that's how that came about.
So when you started, like, you know, it's funny because I have my boy Battlecat, DJ Battlecat here. Much love and respect to DJ Battlecat. And I asked him, was it hard to keep that in your mouth? And he told me this. He said, you know, I was told that try talking with the straw on the side of your mouth. He said, so I literally did that. He goes, and then when I put it in, he goes, after a while, it just became second nature. Like, I just, you know, I had no problem, you know, doing it. Was it hard to adjust in talking to it? Into it?
Yeah, it was. I had to do a couple of adjustments and modifications for it to fit my mouth, because your mouth is an instrument. So no, if you were to jump on this today, you would sound different than I would. Nobody will sound exactly the same. And I think that's the point that everybody misses. Like, I will never sound like Roger. I will never sound like Fingers. Fingers will always be Fingers. Roger will always be Roger. And so I had to kind of adjust it to make it my sound. And that's what I have today. It's my sound.
Okay. So. Now, when you decide, again, you said shits and giggles. That's how you started. And then shit started working. People started paying you for it. Was there ever a time, since the time you started, that you started looking into, you know what, let me look up some of the greats that might have played this before, other than Roger and Zap? Did you do your homework?
Yeah, that's when I started running into like Peter Frampton, and then, you know, I ran back to history. Like, you can even hear it in Disney's Dumbo, the talking voice box from way back before, you know, 1980s. Right. And a lot of people don't know anything more than Roger. Roger has been so iconic to the talkbox community that's like, all they know is Roger. Like, Roger invented it. Like, no, before Roger there was Peter Frampton. Before, you know, and before that there was Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
And you know what's crazy is Stevie Wonder has actually demoed the Electrospit. So the Electrospit has been in a lot of hands of a lot of people that I would never, you know, imagine. It's just mind blowing. And it's also mind blowing to know that it's such a united community. And it's really cool, actually, to be a part of that family. And I've had a lot of love and support from the Troutman family themselves.
Really?
Which is really cool, because it's, you know, somebody like little old me, nobody, you know, getting a lot of love and support from people who are actually established.
Okay, you know what? Do you mind getting your other toy ready and give the people a little demonstration of your toy? And once again, this is something else. This is, if I'm correct, wireless, or is that what you said?
Mobile.
Mobile. Mobile.
Not completely wireless. We still got an auxiliary that connects. But it's the world's first mobile talk box. And like I said, Bosco invented this after he had a little bit of indiscrepancies while performing live with Kanye West. Because he couldn't take all of his cables on, you know, on stage. So we can't accommodate you, which is the problem that I have a lot of times with when I go to shows. Like, you know, we don't have electricity. I have to carry around a 20-foot an extension cord. Yeah. It's kind of ghetto, you know. Like, you're pulling up to a show with a 20-foot extension cord. Yeah. And so he kind of innovated and made this, and there's actually an app for it. It's really cool, and he's customized it. So you look here, you can do two colors. You do the red, and then you do blue.
Okay.
So, and that's just for show. Right. It doesn't do anything like fancy or anything.
Right. And how long have you had this?
I've had this see, when did I run into Bosco? I think I picked it up from him in Oakland. I want to say about 4 or 5 months ago.
Wow, so it's somewhat still fairly new to you.
It's fairly new, yeah.
And have you gotten used to it?
A little bit. So you probably know Bosco's done records like probably put it a little louder. Like the workout song. So
Right.
a lot of people don't know that's Bosco. That's Bosco.
Wow.
So
wow. So this is just for the people that are watching. Nothing goes in your mouth this time.
No.
This is just on. I guess it's rest on your neck.
Yes, it rests on your neck. It goes between in the soft spot of your neck area, between the major bone here down here. And it actually explains the science of the talk box fairly well, because a lot of people think, like I said, like you're talking, like no, you don't talk into it at all. And it's actually really cool because not only can I connect it to my microcord, there's actually a mobile app. So now I can pull up to a show if I wanted to and be like, you know what, I don't want to use my keyboard today. I'm gonna use my phone. So all I gotta do is plug in my phone, open up the Electrospit app, and just play like. So it has absolutely everything that I would use. You just got to know how to use your phone. And it has all of the major scales. You can do modulation, everything. You can transpose, change your octaves, change the buzz and stuff like that. So it's actually really cool. And I'm actually very excited that I was able to invest into such a product like this, and also get my hands on one and be one of the first, because I really do believe that this has created a new lane for the more modern generation. Because I mean, who wants to pull up? Come on, this is like old school.
Of course.
This is analog to everybody, So yeah, this is actually something really cool, and I'm excited to be a part of the new journey for the Talk Box community.
And is this available for people that may have seen it right now and think, I want to go pick this up at fucking Guitar Center? Can they do that?
They can, but not at Guitar Center. You guys got to go to electrospit.com. Okay. And then it'll give you all the information on there, or you guys can follow them on Instagram, Electrospit. Follow him, shoot a direct message like, hey, I want to know more about the Electrospit. Like, it's super easy. Anybody can do it. Like, I've let my mom try it. Like, she was like tripping out, like, ¿Qué es eso? Ponte a lavar los trastes. Yeah, and she's like, and I actually have a video that we're gonna release here in the next couple of weeks where I'm randomly walking up to people out of Walmart and asking them like, hey, do you know what a talk box is? No. Do you know this song? And I'd play California Love. Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh shit, that's what you do. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, like the zap, like zap. Yeah. And then automatically people start, falling in love and like, hey, this is a new product. This is what we're doing, and it's actually super cool. That shit is dope. Okay, anybody can do it. I'm gonna tell you why this is so fucking cool for me. Cause think about this. Okay, I was 12 years old. I hear Roger and Zap, and then now I have a dope female in front of me demonstrating something that I grew up with, something that I've never played, something that I've never tried, right. And I just love it. I often tell people that Roger and Zap is Mexican music because we done took over. That's pretty much what I say, and I say that sarcastically. So like we're the only ones that bump more bounds. My favorite Roger song of all time. Now, before I give you mine, if you have one, what is it? Your favorite Roger song of all time? My favorite Roger song of all time would have to be "Heard It Through the Grapevine." Heard It to the Grapevine. Yeah. Of all fucking time. I don't like the short version. I like the long version because I'll let that motherfucker play. Yeah. Like, I'm serious. I'll work out to that song, take a shower to that song, whatever to that song. It's just my shit right there. I would probably have to say my second, I'd probably have to go back to More Bounce. But, just so many of them. But my number one, I Heard It to the Grapevine. Yeah. Number one would be Heard It to the Grapevine. My second would be So Rough, So Tough. So Russell. Yeah, and it was actually inspiration. What inspired Roger Lean. The bass line, if you hit, sounds almost similar. I was drunk in my room one day and I was just like really drunk. I was like, oh, I want to do a song. Like, I was just bullshitting. Right. And I just heard that bass line, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this shit. And then Roger Lean just came out. I just boom went in there, dropped it one take. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then it ended up becoming a song. I guess everybody likes it. So, and it was just, I think it's just a beat, to be honest.
Yes. I mean, think about this. That other than maybe like James Brown, I know I'm missing some other artists, but other than maybe like James Brown, Roger and Zapp are probably some of the most sampled records ever.
Yep.
You know,
definitely.
even if it's just a boosh, the beginning kick with the snare.
Right.
You know, I mean, shit. I was gonna say Parliament, along with Parliament, James Brown, Roger and Zapp probably have to be the all-time most favorite shit. I mean, you can never go wrong with that shit.
No.
But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna touch on some topics that you wanted to touch on.
Right.
That you've been telling people that you want to address, you've never addressed before. So once again, people need to stay tuned and like I said, call somebody, text somebody, page somebody, let them know that Magic Girl is in the building and we're about to touch on some things that she's never touched on before. And this is a Roadium Radio exclusive. So once again, hit us on the super chat. We're gonna have some apparel. We're gonna have some giveaways. So the first 10 people are gonna get it. So gotta be at least $10 and more, man. Don't be cheap on me. Okay, we'll be back. Yo, once again, welcome back everybody to Roadium Radio episode 24. And we're back here with Magic Girl. But once again, before we continue our interview, the Roadium Mixtape Documixery, available at DOCUMIXERY.com. You can also get the DOCUMIXERY apparel there. The first 10 people, once again, we got a few super chats already for at least $10. We got some apparel for you guys that we'll be shipping out to you guys. Just get at us either through roadiumradio@gmail.com with your information, or you can get me at Roadium Radio on Instagram or on my Facebook or whatnot. As long as you find DOCUMIXERY.com, you'll be able to find all my platforms, and that's how you can reach me, for those of you that have been asking. And for the people that, I usually don't acknowledge this, but for the people that like to hate and like to critique and leave negative comments on the artists that I'm interviewing, always remember this, okay? Somebody who's winning doesn't have the time to critique anyone because you're too busy winning. When you're critiquing someone, it's either because, see, back in the day, we never said you were hating. We said you were just jealous. And if you're jealous, man, you know what? Instead of hating, why don't you just appreciate, what somebody's trying to do? Don't knock somebody's hustle because you're not here or because maybe you haven't gotten your turn, man. Just calm the fuck down, bro, and enjoy the show. So anyways, back to Magic Girl. You know what? I just had to say what I had to say. So, right. But you know what? I like talking like that. I feel better when I speak openly. Yeah. I feel like, why would I want to hold all that inside of me? But anyways, I know there were some topics that you wanted to touch on. I didn't know how you wanted to bring it up, but the mic is there. Go ahead and speak. Start from somewhere, and then I'll pick up and we'll elaborate on.
I think we could. It all started in my fallout with High Power.
Okay. Before we get to your fallout, how did it happen? Were you actually signed with them?
According to him, I was never signed.
Okay.
But I know when I went down to Hollywood, there was a document that stated that I was official High Power. That it was just me, Capone, Pinks, and Criminal, and Tweety.
Okay. So
I was official High Power. I wasn't just a High Power soldier. I was official High Power, because he believed in me that much that like, hey, I'm gonna blow you up. And obviously he blew my head up too, because a lot of people don't know that at that time, and a reason why a lot of the bigger cats in the industry, established people, are just kind of just watching me, because I've turned down a multi-million-dollar record deal to stay true to my roots.
Okay.
Because he filled my head with loyalty, with respect, and I've never banged in my life, but I grew up in that environment.
Yes.
So I've learned to stay my lane, and about respect and stuff like that. So he filled my head with all of that respect and this and that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Let's bring Chicano Rap out.
Right.
And at that time, when Capone was reached out to me, he had already been reaching out to me for 2 years prior to that.
Wow.
He had been looking for me, hitting up my fan pages, But at that time, I was dealing with another person before that, who was now actually my brother-in-law, I guess you say it. He is the brother of the father of my child. So I got tied into the family like that.
Yes.
At that time, I trusted him because he was family. And I guess Capone kept hitting him up, and he's like, hey, you never wrote me back. And he showed me the messages. And so my brother-in-law was writing him back, giving him some bullshit story, like, no, she's not ready, and na, like blowing him off. So when I had the fallout with my brother-in-law, and I was officially a independent artist,
yes,
that's when Capone reached out to me. He reached out to me on Instagram, I think.
Okay.
And prior to that, Pinks was really cool. Like, she had already been hitting me up, like, hey, nice work, good job and stuff like that. We had been just girl talk,
Right.
And so when he sent me his number in the DM, I text Pinks. I was like, hey, I got this message on Instagram. Like, I know you guys are cool. Is this his number? And then she immediately responded back. She's like, oh, fuck yeah. Call him. So I called him. We met up in Hollywood. We went under the terms and conditions of the contract. But the contract never existed, pretty much. So
is it safe to say you guys went over certain terms, but there was never a actual signing?
Whatever I signed was invalid.
Okay.
There's no proof, or he has no proof whatsoever of it. I remember it just being a paper that said sign here. And I was so stupid and naive that it was just a document stating that it was that you're welcome to the high power team. This is how we're going to pay you. Sign here. Never went into detail about what he was talking to me about, what was my fault. But I didn't really know anything. I was more excited, like, oh shit, it's Mr. Capone, like,
yes.
Fuck, I'm finally going to get my career off the ground. And so when I had the fallout with High Power, it was deeper than rap.
Okay.
My problem with Capone, yes, it was bad business all the way around. We lose, we win some. But my problem with Capone was when he started to come into contact with my brother-in-law. Me and my brother-in-law go way back. I was around Shadow when Shadow started coming out again out of the works, when he began social media. My daughter's dad was best friends with Shadow for a long time.
Oh.
And he's like, hey, let's start your social media. Let's get this buzz going and stuff like that. So we were the ones behind all of that. And so like I said, when Capone started getting into contact with my brother-in-law, they started implementing street rules. Because with my brother-in-law, there was an incident, there was court dates, there was hearing, there was police involved, but because a child got hurt.
Okay.
That's the part nobody knows, and I've never been able to talk about it. A child got hurt, and that child was my daughter. And Capone called me one day, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna have to drop you from the label because they're saying that you're a rat, and this and this and this happened, this and that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what the fuck. And Capone didn't know that I was pregnant at the time. I had kept my pregnancy a secret because I didn't want the world to know about my daughter. Like, of course, as a mother, like, it's scary every year in the limelight. You want to keep your family out of the camera, And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, your brother-in-law called me and told me about the situation that you called the cops on him. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And so he explained to me the story, and I was like, wait, back up. I was like, dude, first of all, I don't bang. Second of all, it's a family matter. There's no reason for you to be coming at me with a family matter. I said, and third of all, like, why are you even paying attention to him? Why are you answering his calls? So it went down. I had to break down the situation to him, and my brother-in-law has had countless encounters with a lot of rappers because he owns a record label. Okay. That's a big label in Mexico. It's actually a big label. It's signed under like Mr. Yossi, La Baby Smiley, Mr. Weed, Triste de Nemesis, big artists like that. So that's the record label that, you know, he has. And so he knows the business.
Right.
You know. And so my brother-in-law's approach to bring income to his label again was to create a label beef. So that's where all of that fell into place.
Okay.
So when I had the fallout with my brother-in-law, I remember the day I went over to his house. Well, I was with his brother at the time, so obviously I'm there all the time. And I had went to the kitchen to eat, and I was moving the table around, and he's always like having just shit everywhere because he's always shipping and doing all kinds of stuff. And I saw the royalty statements on the table. They were just out there. So I looked over, and I was like, oh shit, like, you know, like I'm gonna look at it.
Right.
So I looked over, and I saw how much money he was actually making off of my records and off of everybody else. And it just infuriated me. I was so pissed. He was only giving me like $30 out of a couple grand or a couple $100 and saying, oh, this is all we sold. And he was doing that to all of his artists. And they had no fucking idea because they're like miles away in Mexico, you know? And once all the people started catching on, they had beef. And then he's the type of dude that's going to throw somebody under the bus to save his own ass. Like, it's business, right? At the end of the day, it's business. But I never expected that betrayal from a family member.
Right.
So I went to his brother. I was like, hey, what the fuck? Like, you know, look at the statements. Like, your brother's been stealing money from me. And his brother's immediate reaction was like, what the fuck? This motherfucker's doing this shit again. Like, he was mad. He didn't explain to me. Like, he had thought, like, his brother was done doing that, giving him the benefit of the doubt, you know. And so it went on that. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to talk to him. Don't worry about it. At that time, we were serious. So it was like, he talked to him and he's like, hey, bro, I'm going to move out. You know, it's getting serious. And, you know, I'm going to move out. I want to take care of her or whatever. So I'm going to move out. And from that moment on, something clicked in his head where he just went like totally like AWOL. We didn't know who the hell he was. It turned into, I think it was like the next day, his brother called me and was like, hey, can you come pick me up? And I was like, what's wrong? He's like, just come pick me up right now. He's like, I think Ruben's up to some shit. He's like, he locked me out of the house. He took my phone. He took everything. Like, and I was like, okay. He's like, come pick me up. And he's known his brother. I've never knew the other side of the story of his brother until after he explained to me. He's like, I didn't think you needed to know all this. I thought he was done doing this shit, you know? And so I remember I got to the house. I picked up his brother. We drove off, and a block away, here comes my brother-in-law in his truck, and he runs me off the road. And I was like, this motherfucker, like, I was just mad. And then I was like, you know what? We're just going to go home. Fuck it, whatever. So we went home and cooled off. And right when I was pulling up, the cops were already at my house. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and they're like, oh, we're here because we got a call of that domestic violence or disturbance or something like that. And that you have stolen property in your car and that you possibly have drugs. And I was like, what? They're like, can we search your vehicle for stolen property? I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care. You know, so they searched the vehicle, and my dad's like, what the hell's going on? And it turned into a big old situation. And then I was like, dude, this fool's really doing that shit? Like, he's really, like, trying to set this shit up.
Right.
So a couple months later, there was a physical altercation between myself and his wife. There was weapons involved. And I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter. My daughter took most of the beating, I guess I should say, and I went into premature labor. So I was at risk of losing my daughter. At that time, I went to the doctor, and I didn't say anything. They're like, hey, what's going on? And I guess the doctor had mentioned to me, he's like, hey, is he hitting you? I was like, what? But my doctor was a good family friend. He's like, hey, you know, I'm a mandated reporter. I got to say something. And I was like, no, he's not. He's like, you've had a completely healthy pregnancy. What's going on? And I was like, shit, like, fuck. And I explained to him the situation, and he's like, you have to say something, or, you know, I have to report this. And I was like, nah, dude, like, nothing. So the police got involved. I told them, I was like, you know what, I want to drop all the charges. I just want to do what I got to do to keep my daughter.
Yes.
I need to do what I got to do. Like, it's my daughter. I'm not going to give my daughter up for some fucked up dude that's, you know, just trying to ruin my life.
Right.
And so we went on with that. And like I said, there was court stuff and court dates and trial. But it was all for my daughter. You know what I'm saying?
From the time that you had that meeting with High Power to the fallout, how long was that in between that you guys were working together?
I want to say it took maybe a couple months.
Really? That fast?
It was that fast. Like people who know who I'm talking about know how toxic he is.
Okay.
And, but it was that fast. Like, I don't know if it was the money, the easy money, because I was booked every weekend and I was getting paid $200-$300 a show. And I didn't know about it until after I had the fallout. And where I had a promoter write me like, hey, did you get your money? And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, I sent your old dude some money for you coming out. I'm like, no, well, can you screenshot me the PayPal thing? He's like, yeah. And he screenshot me the PayPal thing and it said $200 for Magic Girl show at blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, really? This motherfucker was pocketing money every weekend?
Uh-huh.
So I got a taste of the dirty side of the business from my own family very early in the career.
Is it safe to say that this person who you're talking about is the reason for the fallout of High Power?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, like I said, it was deeper than rap. Of
Right.
course, it was bad business, but like I said, we lose some, we win some. There was no beef between me and Capone.
Okay.
There obviously there's hurt feelings, and like between me and Pinks, there's no beef, no drama. Obviously, she's just a friend defending a friend, which I understand. If that was my homeboy, I'd say something too, you know, especially because I'm a female. You know, obviously she could say a little bit more than Capone can. But like I said, it was bad business. But the main reason for the fallout is that he kept answering calls and letting somebody feed him, you know, false information. It turned into a very dangerous situation because of the type of music Chicano Rap is.
Right.
It turned very, very dangerous very fast. Like, there was people rolling up to my house strapped. Like, it turned very dangerous. Like, I got the taste of the real world, like, real quick because of that toxic situation. So I had to lay low for a long time and let it all just play out because I didn't want no misunderstandings. Like, people thinking like, oh, Capone fucked her over and it's beef. Like, it's not that kind of beef, you know. It's all sourced back to my beginnings, you know. And unfortunately, we all got that family member who we don't talk to, and it happens to be that family member that we don't talk to. So
if you had to guess, or maybe you do know, or maybe you don't care to elaborate, but have you ever thought, like, why did this guy do this to me?
I ask myself that question all the time. Like, why? Like why? Like, I've even asked him, like, dude, like, is it the money? Is it the what? But he's always like so defensive, like fuck you, and always the first thing, like, oh, you fucking cop car. It's like, fool, you call the cops first. Like, fool, you're the reason all this shit started. Like, you snitched yourself out, like, pretty much. That's what happened, and you fucked up and hurt a little kid. Like, that, it is what it is. Like, accept responsibility for your actions. All this shit could have been handled in a different manner behind closed doors, like it should have been handled as a family, you know. But you wanted to take it a different route because you have to place yourself as, I guess he has an image to keep, I guess, but nobody knows who the hell he is. And it's like, I've always asked me, like, why? Like, was it the money? Was it jealousy? Was it greed? Like, I really do feel like it's greed because he's done a lot of artists like this. So I feel like it was the easy money and him not able to control me as an artist anymore because I wanted to do my own thing. Right. Maybe he saw something or saw what everybody else was seeing in me, like, hey,
something promising. Right. And he just cock blocked it pretty much.
Yeah. And, you know, I've tried to go and again, like, it's not to talk shit about anybody. It's just the way it happens. I've tried to go to his house and settle shit. No, boom. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to call the cops. I tried to go to the shop. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to call the cops. Like, dude, if you want that kind of problem, then I'd rather not even bother. Like, just let you be. Just say whatever you want to say. Do whatever you want to do. Like, I'm going to continue to be me. And at the end of the day, it's my work that's going to speak for itself, not all the drama. And a big reason why I kept silent and kept the drama under wraps is because I'm sure you know this. People in the professional industry do not like drama.
Right.
And if your personal drama continues to be an issue, they'll cut you off.
That's it.
They don't give you two shits. They'll be like, bye, we'll find somebody else.
That's it. Yeah.
And that was my issue, why I kept everything under wraps. Like, now that everything's been so cool, like, I have a lot of people who back me up. Like, it's crazy to walk into venues and have people like Trady from the East Siders or Maylino, you know, be like, hey, Magic, what up? And me like, are you talking to me?
Right.
Like, yeah, hey, come here, I know who you are. To have people of that stature know who you are, like, that's super dope.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wow, like, what the hell am I doing fighting with this fucking lame? Losing my, like, ultimately that's what a hater does. You know what I'm saying? They try to do what they can to tarnish what you have because they're just mad they don't have it, I guess.
Let me ask you a question. This may be something that fans may want to know. Why did you hold it in so much? Why have you never spoke about it before?
Because it was a family matter.
Okay.
And
That's
I felt
simple.
like it was, I felt like nobody else needed to know about this, and nobody else knew about it because he wanted to put it out there. And like I see, he's right here in the comments. I see him right now trying to get all that clout. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't give a shit, why are you in the comments?
Right.
Why are you even responding, you know? And to me, it was very personal.
Okay.
It wasn't because of the whole rat stereotype or cop collar or whatever. It wasn't because of that. It's
Right.
because for me, family's everything, regardless
Right.
if you're a toxic person or not.
Right.
But it's like you know, people say, like, if my mom's always told me never, I don't know how to translate it in English, but I'll try the best I can. Don't touch your heart twice for someone who didn't touch it once.
Okay. Did after all this blew over, did you ever have that one-on-one conversation with Capone? And even if you didn't say, you know, let me back in, or why did you let me go, was there ever that peace made there?
No, I never got that opportunity.
Okay.
And even if I had it today, I don't know if he would. I would never go back into business with him.
Right. I understand.
But I never was allowed to make amends with anybody. Actually, I've had problems with rappers I didn't even never met before because of this dude saying, like, oh, so this and that, and
So your name was pretty much smeared, and to the point possibly where whoever this individual was, this family member was, I guess he was trying to blackball you in the industry, if you will.
yeah, he was trying to create this dark environment. So, like, if you, like, the way I see it is like, oh, if you don't want to fuck with me, no one's gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know what I mean? That's the way I saw it.
I know a couple of artists like that do that to mostly females. They try to do that. They try to manipulate them. They try to hold them back, try to blackball them because they want to be the only avenue that you're their only
Exactly.
source, if you will.
Exactly.
You know? But yeah, I mean, luckily I never had dudes that came at me that way because, you know, they know better. But I'm glad that you spoke about it. I'm glad that you're on your feet. I'm glad you're doing what you love. You know, you seem like a very, very positive person. I like to try to bring unity amongst our people, amongst our raza, so that we can climb the ladder. And honestly, I wish you the best. If there's anything that I can do for you and for your career and something that I can help you in, I would like to do that. Okay. When I saw you perform and I met you, I thought the shit was dope. I saw you rapping, I saw you singing, I saw you playing the talk box, and I thought you were multi-talented. So I said, I want to talk about that.
Right.
You know, and that's why I reached out to you, you know, and I said, hey, let's do an interview. And as a matter of fact, I think I sent you your video. And I said, I saw you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was at
just so you can
Industry
remember.
Hills, I think.
Yes, and I was there with Mello. Matter of fact, I showed up with Mello, and I was just. I like to check out artists because I like different. I don't like artists that sound just like everybody else. You know, I get dozens of emails, actually hundreds of emails with songs, and the sad part is many of them sound the same. So I'm like, skip. But when I come across somebody that's different, you know, my ears perk up, and I'm like, okay, I like this shit. This shit is hot. You know, so that's why I had asked you to come out here because, you know, I like what you do. And I'm glad you spoke on this because I don't think it's good for anybody to hold that in. But if there's anything else that, you know, you want to share or maybe even say to this individual, right? Maybe right now is the time.
No, I just felt like it needed to be spoken on because I like I said, I don't think it's fair to the fans to be left out of the light on why isn't Magic, like they don't have to listen to me.
Right.
But there's people who's been following me like 3-4 years and always wondering like this and that. And also like, I don't like, how'd you say, like tension?
Right.
You know? And the bad talk, like I be looking at comments and I really don't care what people got to say. But when people are like, you know, when they start saying dumb shit like Capone fucked her over for this and that, like, nah, it's not even like, yeah, it was bad business. And yeah, he paid somebody to be on my tour and we were eating dollar menu at fucking Taco Bell. You know, like, you know, it wasn't about that, you know, like we win some, we lose some. Like I said, you're in the music industry, expect to get fucked over.
That was like Ice Cube in the movie Straight Outta Compton when he said they're over there eating fucking steak and lobster and we're fucking eating fat burger.
Yeah.
You know, no, believe me, I fucking
sharing rooms and shit and like fucking like all kinds. I could tell all kinds of crazy stories, like fucking of my experiences.
So I guess what I'm trying to get over, because I seen videos of you in the High Power. I think I might have seen like 2. Okay. 2 videos that you were in. You were playing the talk box. One of you were in the car, and I guess one you were sitting down or standing up. I'm not sure. But I thought it was longer for some reason that you were in the High Power group, you know. No,
it happened fairly quickly, and it was all because of that. He's like, I got to drop you. And I'm just like, man, you know what? If you're going to keep answering his calls, then I don't want to fuck with you. So
when he told you that, he called you, or was this a face-to-face?
No, he called me. He called me, and then I went after him and was like, hey, you know. And then he started switching up on me. He's like, hey, you owe me an album. If you're going to leave, you owe me an album. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I don't. And I said, and if I do owe you an album, show me the contract. And he kept bullshitting me for like 3 months, talking about, I'm going to get it from the lawyer. I got to go get it. And they got to pull it out of the file and it's going to cost me money. I'm not going to pay. And I was like, well, if you want your album, you're going to have to pay. Because legally, I'm not entitled to give you anything if there's no signed contract. So he never brought proof. And then there's a buddy of mine who came in. I love him to death. And he helped me get out of that legal bind, I guess, if you say. I took partial rights of that album back.
Okay. And
then just because there was a rumor out there that my brother-in-law was telling everybody that he had me under contract. Like, I never signed a contract with you, bro. Like, wow. You know, so he was kind of like scared of him in a sense, like, oh, he's gonna do legal repercussion. Like, fool, why do you even listen to this fool? Like, he doesn't even have anything, and you know, you have a contract, but like, show me the contract. The contract was lost.
Did an album ever come out? Did he offer money or anything like that for you to do that album?
No.
Not this one. No, not that album never came out.
No, I had an album ready, and throughout the process of all these dilemmas and stuff, I lost a total of 3 albums. 3 complete albums that I lost. The one that was distributed by High Power, I would have never put it out. The mixing was shitty. The production wasn't done correctly. It was all rushed through, and it was all just to try to get it out fast and out of the way, like I said, because he was just trying to toss me aside over the speculations and the not knowing what really happened, you know. And then fucking, I'm laughing my ass off because this idiot puts fucking pictures of Capone all over the fucking all over the documents. So it's like, fool, this fool ratted you out too. Like, really?
Right. Okay. And wow. So now that you're independent, if I'm correct, you're not signed with nobody, right?
No, I'm a completely independent artist. I have been independent. I've created 2 entities, which is Magicka Entertainment and Lowrider Life magazine.
Okay.
So I do own Lowrider Life magazine. It's owned by Magicka Entertainment. I decided to create Lowrider Life to kind of sidetrack. So it's not always about me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not always about me. And it's actually helped a lot because of the Lowrider community has received me with open arms. And it's completely amazing because I never expected to have that much love and support from a lot of people.
Yes.
And it's just mind-blowing. So that's where that came out, the idea. So I just hide behind Magicka Entertainment and Lowrider Life magazine. That's all I do. I do work on the side, and like I said, because I've kept quiet and decided to keep these people as far away as possible, new opportunity has opened up. Like now I have my music in a Netflix series called El Club. And I also, my song was also featured on the new Rambo movie, The Last Blood.
Really?
Yeah, I had a song on there. It's called Dinero Sucio. That was actually on the Rambo movie. And then I got another placement on this movie by Nicolas Cage. I can't remember the song. And then we did LA Dodgers as well.
Wow.
Got a hold of my record, and they were playing, you know, the instrumental or whatever. Through a good friend of mine. He knows who he is. He likes to keep his identity a secret. So shout out to you. I know you're watching. Thank you so much for believing in me. And like I'm saying, these are well-established people. These aren't Smojo's local artists. These are established people in the industry who are like, hey, I want to help you out. You know, fuck the drama. Let's do this. Fuck
the drama. Yeah, exactly. You know what? I'm on some positive shit. You know, there's no room for fucking hate. You know, the sad thing is that there's always going to be hate, and many times it's going to be from our own people. You know, why that is, I have no idea. You know, I'm a fucking happy dude. I will help whoever if I can, but if I fucking can't, or you see me helping somebody else, don't be bitter about it.
Yeah.
You know,
I just don't see how people. It's like I don't understand why, like, I see some rappers that get mad, like, oh, so and so never helped me out, or fuck this dude because he never put me on. But the way I see it, it's like, bro, he's not responsible for your career.
Thank you.
You're the only one responsible for where you're supposed to be, and this is why, like, I stay quiet about a lot of things, is because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to take my career where I want to take it.
Yes.
You know, and I've taken it to places where I never would have imagined. You know, and I still have a lot to go, but don't be mad at somebody else for not doing the work for you.
Right.
You know, and if they don't want to listen to you, fuck it, move on. Next person.
Yeah, move on. Like you said, don't get mad because somebody didn't put you on. Put yourself on.
Exactly, and that's what I had to do. Nobody wanted to help me. I got fucked over and screwed over by so many of these top-notch Chicano labels. You know, I said, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened. And now I've built two monsters. I've had people come up to me, hey, we want to buy Lowrider Life magazine off of you. How much do you want?
Wow.
We're going to pay you a couple $100,000. How much do you want? And I'm just like, no, like, I don't want to sell. Like, I'm good right now, you know?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that I've created two monsters that have fed myself and my family.
They have a future.
They have a future, and ultimately, for my kid, you know? And I've been able to feed my family with it for 2 years.
Awesome.
Working from home for 2 years, just doing shows, like.
You know, an example of putting yourself on, and I don't say this braggingly at all, but I got a job at 11 years old. I met a man. He was very instrumental in my life. He passed away 5 years ago. I took it upon myself to bless his family with a documentary that me and my team did. It was released. We started the podcast because I wanted to promote the documentary to shed light on this man's life so that his name would not be lost or forgotten in West Coast hip hop history. And through this, I meet you. That's awesome. That's amazing. So thank God for technology, because you know what? Put yourself on, dude. Don't wait for it. Yeah, don't wait for anybody. So anyway, so here's where we turn to shout outs. Anybody you want to shout out, or any last words you want to say, right now is the time to say it. So
first of all, thank you for inviting me out. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And just a shout out to Bayasa Clothing, my good homegirl that's always been there. OG Big Wicked, I know you're watching. I just saw you there. My friends down at Sonotone Distribution, y'all know who you guys are. And yeah, and all the fans especially, like, thank you for sticking next to me and being with me for what it's about. It's not about the bullshit or the drama.
Right.
It's about the music, and I think where a lot of people get it, they think they have to be in some kind of fucking dilemma to get clout or views. It's like, no, I've managed to make a way, without all that stuff. I don't need to say fuck her, fuck this to sell records or show half my titties or be half naked on a camera. I've done it without that. Like, you can do it too. Trust me. We have all the means and outputs to do it. So thank you to the fans for always believing in me. A huge shout out to Groove 99.3 back in Bakersfield. I love you guys. they're the reason why magic is magic.
Dope.
So,
Dope.
yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty much.
Awesome. Well, let me say this. If, not if, let me rephrase it. When you blow the fuck up, don't forget us small people, because I'm going to have you come back and do another interview.
No, never.
Okay?
Never that.
So much love and respect to you and to your career. I love this. Keep doing you, and much blessings upon you and your family. You know, thank you for coming out.
Yeah, Dr. Dre is in full effect, and I gotta tell y'all a little something. Eazy-E is down with us. MC Ring, you know he's down with us. DJ Yella is down with us. Arabian Prince, you know he's down with us. Tony A the Wizard is down with us. JJ Fag is down with us. Timmy T, you know he's down with us. DJ Pooh Boy is down with us. Toddy King and Spade, they're down with us. My boy Ice Cube, you know he's down with us. I like to mention, so pay attention to where I'm from, Compton, but the tapes are from the Roadium. My name is Dre, listen while I play. And by the way, I'm also down with NWA. Yo, Steve at the Roadium is down with us. Slanging funky tapes, it is a must. We're number one.
Tony A. Tony A. When you're ready, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to Roadium Radio episode 21. I can't believe that it's already been 21 shows. First of all, I want to say once again, I know we already had Thanksgiving, we already had Christmas, but I want to tell everybody Happy New Year. I hope you guys had a dope New Year. I hope you guys are probably hungover. But if you guys set any New Year's resolution, make sure you guys stick to them. If you guys need to get to the gym and work on that panza, do it, okay? Take care of yourself. You only get one body to live in, so take care of it right now. Other than that, just a reminder, I believe in promoting yourself until it pays off. The Roadium Mixtape DOCUMIXERY, you can get it at documixery.com. And also, our podcasts are available now at Anchor, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So, once again, I hope everybody had a blessed New Year's Eve 2020. Here we come. We have a voice. And before I introduced my good friend, my good how would you say, famous friend from the Harbor area, let me just say that it's truly an honor and a pleasure to be able to have him here sitting across from me, where I actually get to sit and interview him. And it's so much rich history here that if you guys don't know who he is, you guys will know tonight, okay? And all the guys that left stupid negative comments, I'm just glad you guys are logged in. So here we go. Once again, in the building, MC Pancho, all the way from San Pedro. How you doing, my brother?
It's an honor, Tony. It's an honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
All good, brother. So once again, how was your Christmas?
It was cool. It's just me and the wife, and we had the crew. We had dinner at Pacific Dining Car. We do that every year because it's just the two of us. So I had my crew join me this time, and we ended up eating there from 12 to 4 in the morning. And we just talked in the back room. It was really cool.
That's dope. That's dope. New Year's, how did you spend New Year's?
New Year's, I spent it at Original Mike's. There was an event there. They had Slave and the Mary Jane Girls, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
We had dinner, and I didn't get drunk, so I'm starting the new year off right.
Starting the new year off right. So today I started mine off right. The first thing I did, I had my breakfast, and I grabbed my gym bag, and I went to go hit arms today because, you know what, I'm 51 years old, and as we get older, we should be getting better.
Yes, I'm not far behind you, Tony. You know, I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 real soon.
50. Well, let me know your 50th birthday. I'm there.
Okay. All right, brother.
So, okay, now, before we get into what are you doing now, the clubs that you promote or restaurants that you promote, before people get to know what you're doing now and what you'll be doing in the future, I usually like to start at the very, very beginning of MC Pancho. For an example, where were you raised, or where were you born at?
I was raised in San Pedro, not far from Wilmington, right here, the Harbor area.
Yeah.
And born and raised there, went to school there, went to, my elementary was Cabrillo Avenue. Junior high was Dana Junior High, and I'm a pirate, class of 88, San Pedro High School.
Pirate?
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like pilot. Yeah, that's dope. So now, elementary school, were you ever a smart kid?
I was average. I got through. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I did the best I could. I made it through with maybe B's and C's.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I wish I could have got B's and C's because my crap was always D's and C's, and But I did graduate, and that's when back in the day we used to graduate at 6th grade.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, same here.
What about junior high? Were you ever, how would you say, a good student in junior high?
Good, yes. I mean, I graduated and I had a C/B average. I made it with. My mom would always tell me, as long as you get E's on your progress report and report card, you're trying. You know what I mean? So I didn't get any U's, so I got CEE. I remember I had a DEE. And that was kind of rare.
Right.
But I still tried.
One time I brought, I had 7 periods in junior high when I went to Wilmington. And every damn class, I'm not going to lie to you, was FUU, 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 because I never went. I was always ditching, hanging out with my friends, breaking into people's houses, stealing their spare change, making ourselves something to eat, and watching TV. That's what we used to do. And then go back to class, But it was funny because one day my mom, and she never spoke English, So she said, ¿Qué es el F? What is the F? And I said, fantastic.
And you got away with that?
No, for like 5 minutes. So she called my sister and I go, Ma, es fantástico. That's what I told her. So she said, what's the use? And I was like, I don't know. So believe me, I got my ass whooped a lot. Because you know what? I never applied myself. So, and I never graduated. I actually flunked the 8th grade and he still, told me, okay, get out of here, go to Banning now. So, Pedro High, did you play any sports?
No, I didn't do any sports. Believe it or not, Tony, I took up foods class because I wanted to be. There was all chicks in that class, and
of course,
and stuff like that. And I was the only dude in there. And the funny part was, I actually liked it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'd come home and I'd do extra, homework projects and make omelets for my mother. And then she would have to write a little note saying, yeah, he did it. He pulled it off and stuff. So I got a kick out of that, out of the cooking thing.
That's good, man. It's funny. When I went to Banning, of course, I was just there for the girls, but I was, here's what I was hooked on. DJing and video games. So I was always DJing. My friend was like, hey, I got like $1.50. Let's go to Neptune Liquor. They got Donkey Kong.
Oh, I know Neptune, yeah.
Yeah, so we would go play Donkey Kong or Asteroids or whatever. Were you a video game guy?
Berserk and Space Invader, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, I'm in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for PS2.
Okay.
I'm one of the voices on that, yeah.
We're going to get into that.
Okay, all right.
Don't let too much out of the bag.
Okay.
So somebody go help somebody over there, please. Anyways, so
it's the new year.
Yes, the new year. Before I lose my train of thoughts, another thing that I was going to ask you is, right out when you got out of high school, what did you end up getting into?
Right out of high school, Tony, what saved my life was my father was a longshoreman. And at the age of 8, when I was 8 years old, he passed away of ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. So the thing with the Longshore Union that a lot of people don't know is, as long as your mother, which my mom didn't remarry, I would become eligible to apply for that job as sole supporter. Right. So when I turned 18, right out of high school, I went into the pros. I became a longshoreman. Right there. So that job saved my life. That job, I started. It was time to man up and just go out there and start working.
Right. And it pretty much did it keep you off the streets?
Like I said, it really saved my life. Yes.
And about how old were you when you started?
18.
18 years old. Wow,
18.
Wow. I thought I heard that, but I don't know if I heard it was the racket.
Yeah.
But so now, let's back up just a little bit. Growing up with your mother and your father, what type of music was played at home? Like, what would your father play? What would your mother play?
My mother introduced me to Big J McNeely, Jimmy Reed, Joe Houston, and she's bought me my very, very first cassette, East Side Stories. So my mom was a homegirl. My mom was, from Pedro. Well, my dad as well. And that's what she introduced me to. A lot of oldies, and I would hear War, Santana, El Chicano, Malo. All that was in the house.
Okay, now people are probably wondering, and we're going to get into it a little bit later on, why the mixer is here. Okay, so old school new mixer. Now, about what point in your life would you say you were introduced to DJing? Like, who did you see? Who did you hear? What was it that, if you will, that encouraged you to move into that direction?
Well, my mother, really, because the music that she introduced me to, my father as well. To answer your question, my dad was more Elvis and Roy Orbison. But I used to make tapes for all the older dudes in the hood. So I would just do them off of the 45s that I had, and do them off of regular Sears cassette deck with the turntable. Right. And my mom knew that I had music in me. The first thing they had ever bought me was a Mickey Mouse. It was a suitcase, and it was a portable turntable. So I had that at the age of, God, I want to say 5 years old. And I still have it. It's in storage. Just put away. I was trying to get it out to bring it with the mixer. And the arm was the needle, the Mickey Mouse's hand.
Right.
And that's what I played my records on. And so I was always into music as a kid. Instead of asking my mom for toys, I would tell her, if I'm good, can you get me a record? So I'd be a good kid, and I'm a five-year-old kid and asking for records. So she'd take me to a spot in San Pedro called Jesse's Records, and that's where I got my first record.
Any brothers, sisters?
I had a brother that was 16 years older than me, and he passed away of an overdose of heroin. So I inherited a lot of his records as well, because he was a blues like Jimmy. I got all Jimmy Reed's from my brother.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Like me, I've had like 5 older brothers, actually 4 older, 1 younger, and 4 sisters, and it was hard for me to get along with all of them. So believe me, when you come from a big Mexican family, the dope thing about it is that your Thanksgivings, your Christmas, and your New Year's are dope.
Right. It's family.
Yeah, but come Christmas, everybody's poor. I don't have no money. Santa Claus is poor this year. Yeah, he's freaking always poor. So anyway, other than that, so you started collecting. Well, at 5 years old, you began to ask for records.
Yes.
I received my first record when I was in 4th grade. My brother used to work at Zodi's.
Oh, I remember Zodi's.
And my first record was Love Gun by Kiss. Eventually, my next record was Blondie, what's that? It wasn't Rapture. I forgot the name of the
Call
song.
Me?
No. It was another.
Heart of Glass?
Heart of Glass.
Okay.
That's the one. So you know your music.
Yes, good. I do.
After that, I think it was like Brick, the song Daz. So I started mostly in elementary. Okay. But now, you began collecting records. Do you remember who it was that inspired you to move into the direction of actually DJing?
Oh, God. Well, my mother said one day, I'm going to buy you another turntable so you could do something with this. And I think I was in the 7th grade, and she bought me a realistic, but I really couldn't do much with it. And, the realistic turntables, it's not a technique. So really my whole inspiration to the music, to the DJing, was not seeing really anybody spinning. It was my mother that pushed me. She pretty much paved the whole road for me. She's seen the future, and I guess she's seen where I was going to be today to this day.
Wow. And so you had, for people that may not know what realistics are, those are actually turntables bought from Radio Shack.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's funny because I catch myself today telling people, I used to have a realistic, and they're like, and I go,
they don't have a clue. Yeah,
they're like, no,
yeah.
So like, okay.
And Tony, not to interrupt you, but like I said, my mom wasn't average, and I know I'm going to be talking about her a lot in this video because she is the whole inspiration. She used to go out and buy me the scratch parties, scratch party 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Wow.
And you wouldn't find too many mothers, because I remember all the kids in school, and Dana was like, "You mean your mom bought you this?" My mom would. So she would go into what do we have then? Music Land, the Warehouse, Tower. We had all those,
Music Plus,
and Music Plus. And she would go in there and say, "Do you have any mixes?" And they'd look at her weird, like, "How does this lady know what a mix is?" And she would get me the 12-inch, the scratch parties and scratch dance, and I still have them.
Wow. Wow. I had Lonzo here from the World Class Wrecking Crew, and he was responsible for those records.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
If you go back and look at that episode, it was Dre and Yella that were actually doing those bootleg records.
Wow.
And for people that may not know what those records were, on one side, you would actually have the vinyl, the grooves of the song. It was almost like a mixtape, but on a record. And on the other side, it was just completely. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got my first bootleg record, I was like, "Wow, look at this! It's got nothing." I was showing it off, because I thought the shit was dope. So now you get a turntable. Do you remember when you got your mixer?
It's this one right here that I brought here. It was 1988.
1988.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you still have your realistic turntables as well?
No, my mom, we took, my mom didn't drive, so we took the bus down to Broadway, right near Clifton's Cafeteria, I want to say 7th or 8th and Broadway. And I was waiting to get called to start working, but, you know, I guess she figured that in the meantime, I'm going to have too much time on my hands.
Right.
So she saved her money, and we went on the bus, and she went over there, and she bought me that system. I had the whole coffin, everything. I had it delivered because we didn't drive. So she told the guy, she goes, I want to have this delivered, and I'm at 2 turntables and that mixer. And you're going to have to come and show him how to use this, because I didn't know how to use it. I was 17 at the time.
Okay.
So she purchased it, they delivered it, and the messed up part about it was the guy hooked up the turntables backwards. So that's how I learned to mix. So in the fader, I was opposite on the fader.
And obviously that was by accident.
That was by accident. I thought that's how it went. So when it was hard when I would spin with other people, because then I'd have to unplug it if I wanted to scratch, transform, or do any of that. Because I learned the opposite way. That was how he hooked it up.
Look, I've met DJs from East Coast to West Coast, and I've never heard that story. I've
Really?
never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You know, like, for an example, my good friend Joe Cooley, okay? When he told me he first got his first mixer, it was a realistic mixer from Radio Shack, but he didn't buy the one with the fader. He had the one that went up and down. So many times when I would see him scratch, he would just be up and down. And I was always like, I started with the fader.
Right.
And I was like, how are you so good? And he said, I didn't have the luxury of buying the more expensive one. So I had to learn this way until I bought the one that goes across.
Right.
You know, and he's actually the one that taught me how to use the click buttons. You know, I didn't know, and they were there the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, but so now you're 17 years old. You're taught how to DJ. Do you still remember the person who taught you how to DJ?
It was the guy that delivered it, and the English was bad because he didn't speak good English, and I'm a pocho, I don't speak good Spanish. So he was just showing me. He wasn't much into the scratching. I had to really pretty much learn on my own, and I just knew to put a quarter on it to hold the weight down, and it wasn't going to jump, and it was a Stanton cartridge, and you know. Yeah, so I pretty much learned on my own, and then I hooked up with the guy from high school called Latin Lover that DJ'd. And while I was waiting for them to call me for work, I would jog every day to Cabrillo Beach. I'd go to the beach and I'd run every morning. So I ran into this guy waiting for the bus. I'm like, hey, you were the DJ, right, in school? He's like, yeah. And I said, you know, I have a system. I go, I think we could do something together. You know, I could learn some pointers from you and we could spin together. So we started spinning and we started booking weddings, quinceañeras. The majority of the parties I was doing was actually in Wilmington.
Really?
And yeah, I have a lot of history with Wilmington. I mean, going back, I was baptized a Holy Family. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
And so we started DJing, and then that's when I realized that I didn't want to DJ anymore. Once I got on the microphone, because he didn't like to talk on the mic.
Okay.
So then I picked up the mic and would get the crowd going, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a DJ. I want to be an MC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were over here with, you know, and back in the day, you know, first of all, let me clarify the word spin, because again, a lot of people may not know what that word means. It's the actual DJ, you know, like I would still tell you, hey man, let me spin, like, let me DJ, right. You know, a lot of people may not know our old school lingo. You know, but so now you guys are doing what, weddings, quinceañeras, backyard parties, etc.
Yes.
And then he gives you the mic, and then that's when you discovered MC Pancho.
Correct. Because it started off as DJ Pancho, yeah.
DJ
and
Pancho.
The name of my group was Playing Kinda Rough, and we were under a group actually based out of here, a main promoter, La Chic Attractions.
La Chic Attractions.
Yeah.
Now, was it JC?
JC, Jose,
JC.
yeah.
Wow.
Jose Chavez.
See, and a lot of people may not know that you have a lot of history in the city of Wilmington. A lot of people just think you're just this Pedro guy.
No, I represent the whole harbor area.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I want you to share with the public. You shared with me a story about your father bringing unity, you know, to, was it Wilmington and San Pedro?
Yes.
Okay. If you can elaborate a little bit more on that story.
My father is responsible with a gentleman by the name of Jack Slater. They got together in the 50s. I want to say 1956, from the story that I heard from my mother and other individuals as well. And my dad brought the guys from Pedro over to Banning Park, and they met and they held a peace treaty. And they were like, no more of this fighting, because, you know, those two cities have been rivals forever. We don't know how far back it goes. And my dad was responsible for that. You know, it was the main one that represented San Pedro, and Jack was representing Wilmington, and they got together and You know, it was all about peace.
Right.
And it lasted for the longest. And from that point on, my dad baptized. Well, there's always a joke that my dad baptized half of Wilmington, because I would run into guys from east, the west, the north side, and they, you know, first they'd hit me up and then, but wait a minute, who's your dad? And I say Celso, and they were like, oh shit, that's my Nino.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And now, did your dad ever share with you why he wanted to bring that piece? What inspired him? What encouraged him to do that?
From what I heard, because I was 8 years old, of course, when my dad passed away. So what I heard from my mom was, you know, my dad was always, the majority of the time he was in Wilmington, you know, quite a bit in all the bars. He was one of the few guys from Pedro that could go into all these bars, or the folk soul and all the different spots in Wilmington. And he had a lot of friends, and he just had this, he had something where you would listen to him. It was like, I don't know what it was. It was just, he had this gift where people would listen to him.
Yeah. Well, you know, and he used that gift because there are people that instead of using their gifts to for the better, many people try to use it for themselves, and they hoard it for themselves, and they want to shine for themselves. Your father was one of those type of guys that just wanted to bring more or less peace to everyone. You know?
Yes, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
It was, plus it was a different era. You know, there weren't guns. Everybody fought back then. And my dad would get challenged a lot. He was a short guy. He was a professional boxer as well. And U.S. Army, 2nd and None Infantry. He's one of the highest decorated in our area, Tony. He received a Purple Heart for getting shot in both arms. He went back out to combat, and he got shot in both legs, which got him a second Purple Heart. And during that, he single-handedly disarmed a gunner, a Korean gunner, and saved his infantry, which or his unit rather, which got him the Silver Star, and that's very high to achieve in military.
Wow, that's awesome, because I remember you shared that story with me over the phone, and then you text me the picture. If I'm correct, one of them was your father. They were in Mexico?
Yeah, that was him and Jack.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
Wow.
That's a historic picture, very.
And how long do you think that piece lasted?
It didn't last too long. It went maybe about 5 or 6 years, and then of course the new generation came in. So I think it went up to maybe like the 60s, the mid 60s, and then of course it was a different generation, different time, and they weren't listening.
You know, the reason why I bring that up is because in the 80s, that was more like my time. I love the 80s. Whether it be 80s music, 80s style of clothing, whether it's 80s cologne like Polo cologne. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I still have my old ass Polo cologne. It's still like halfway full.
Polo, gray flannel, Dracar.
Yeah. So what happened was, and actually the clothing, the movies, everything about the 80s is dope. But one thing we will say that the 80s, when crack came in, bro, it spread like wildfire. Gang violence was at an all-time high. And let me say something to the public, that there's a possibility that in the 80s, we probably would not have had this conversation simply because you lived in Pedro and I lived in Wilmington. And if you really think about it, we're all older now. And how silly or how stupid that was, that there are still kids today taking each other's life because you don't live too far away from it.
And not to mention that most of us married into each other's families. You know, we're all related somehow, or so-and-so's married to someone, or, you know, it's senseless.
You know, it's funny because I'm going to say something and a bunch of Wilmington guys are probably going to get upset, but it's the truth. So if you get upset at me, I'm going to ask you, what did I say that wasn't true? It's funny how growing up, a lot of guys dissed San Pedro, and then they want to get out of the bad element of Wilmington, and guess where they go move?
The San Pedro?
San Pedro, Or their second home would be Lakewood.
Lakewood,
You know, they'll go say, well, I live in Lakewood, and they all live by the mall. I live by the mall, man. You too? Yeah, I live by the mall. You know, so all of them do, you know. People still ask me, how do you still live in Wilmington? So all you guys moved out.
I'm still in Pedro. I'm still on the block. I'm on 3rd Street. And I mean, like, people can't say Pancho forgot where he came from. I'm still there. I'm still on that block.
You know what? And I'm still here. I never felt a reason to leave. You know, I love it here. I take walks around. Put it this way, you can catch me walking by myself. In the streets of Wilmington, usually early in the morning when I go get a breakfast. I just like walking. I really enjoy it. It's funny because I'll get some of the homies that will pull over. Hey man, are you okay? Like, well, yeah, why? I see you walking. Yeah, I know, but I'm just walking, bro. You know, you needed a couple of dollars. You know.
They assume the worst.
They always assume the worst. But and I always take my grandbabies Banning Park.
Okay.
I always walk them there. They go see the squirrels and shit. I almost said the pelicans. What do you call them? The ones that hang out at the bars. No. The ones that spread their damn tails. Peacocks.
The peacocks out here.
They're
Okay.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they love them. So now you pick up the mic. And what were some of your first words, man? Somebody say, ho!
Nah, I was, check it out. This is MC Pancho, the #1 Sancho, coming at you live from the Harbor area.
Say that one more time, bro.
Yo, check this out. This is MC Pancho, the #1 Sancho, coming at you live from the Harbor area. Check it out.
That's dope, man.
And
then the other dude would just start spinning.
Yeah. Well, I did mixtapes. So I did these mixtapes called the Harbor Area Sounds, and those were 1988 mixtapes. They had covers for them. I did over 30 of them, and the whole purpose of that cassette was okay. By now I'm working. I'm already longshoring. I didn't have a car, so a friend of mine who lived on right around here, M Street in Watson. He took me home one day with him for lunch. We were riding together. I was introduced to him by his brother, who was a friend of my dad. So really, he took me under his wing and looked out for him. His name was Richard Sumaran. And he had a daughter named Hope Sumaran that was handicapped. So I'm 18 years old. I met her, and she just won my heart. So I said, what could I do? I got to do something for this girl. So I created the Harbor Area Sounds mixtapes. So those tapes were dedicated to her. Volume 1 was dedicated to her. I was a duffel bag boy. I sold my cassettes out of a duffel bag at the Longshoreman Hall every Friday, payday. And the money I made was put into a trust fund for her. So she was a big inspiration to keep going, because I didn't plan on making any more cassettes. It was just that one. Right. And then other people were like, when are you going to come out with number 2, number 3? And I did 30 of them. So
by popular demand, you just kept coming with them.
They kept coming. I would sell them, like I said, every Friday at the Longshoreman Hall. I would take that day off and I'd sell them. And then it was time to try to get them into a swap meet. Mm-hmm. And I went to swap meets everywhere, and they wanted them for $1. Now, these are 90-minute cassettes on a TDK or Maxwell cassette. Right. And they had covers. They had righteous covers on them.
It just wasn't like it was some cheap shit.
Yeah, no, there was, so... I went everywhere. I couldn't find anybody. And there was a gentleman, Jerry's Music Box. He was at the Try It Indoor across from Scottsdale in the city of Carson. And he seen them. And we'd always talk music, because I'd buy, vinyl from him back then. And he was like, these are yours? And I said, yeah, I have. At that time, I had 3 volumes. And I think I had 100 cassettes on me. He's like, I'll take them all. So he bought them all. I remember we got home. I was with my mother. And we got home, and I had all these calls on the answering machine. And then he's like, hey, man, can you give me another 100 more? And I'm like, I was doing these on a regular tape-to-tape dual cassette. Right. Not even high speed, Tony, just a regular one.
Yeah, you had to listen to the whole shit.
Yes. Yeah. And it took me forever to do those, not to mention the electricity and everything. So I didn't make no money off those cassettes. But then my mom seen something, and she's like, oh, no, you need an investor. I'm going to invest in you. We're going to go to Circuit City, and we're going to get you 2 of those high-speed dual cassettes, and you're going to make some product. So that's what I started doing. And he would get them from me and sell them. And I was selling to him for $5. I go in there, they were going for $15.95 plus tax. And he was making some money off of them, but it got me out there because we didn't have social media.
Right.
You would just hear of me through those cassettes.
Wow, that's dope. And how long did that relationship continue to go on with this individual as far as him selling them?
Oh God, up to maybe about 3 years until CDs came in.
Okay.
And then once CDs came in, I didn't know how to make that transformation. I was like, what the hell is a CD? Like I don't know how to do that, and I hung it up.
Okay. And during this time, even though you're working, were you still doing mobile DJing at all?
Yeah, because the gentleman Richard, who was from Wilmington, is from Wilmington, lived on the east side, he would get me a lot of gigs. So he was like, hey man, do you want to do a quinceañera? Do you want to do a wedding? Do you want to? And the majority that I was doing was, right here on the east side, in the Watson area right there, Hyatt, all that area. I was DJing parties and weddings.
I remember you were telling me that there was a lot of people that actually thought that at one point you were actually from Wilmington.
Yeah, I would drive by because I had a little white Chrysler LeBaron on McLean's and 520s, and I'd drive by and they'd just wave to me and I wave too, Right, they were respecting.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So now, one thing that a lot of people today, because today's a DJ is a laptop.
Right.
That's what it is. Okay. And because today they have Christmas lights on mixers, what I'm saying? So, and people just start button bashing in their laptop.
And they act like they're doing something. Yeah.
Pretty much. So, back then, I mean, to be a mobile DJ, number one, you had to have, if you wanted to be a good DJ, you had to have Servant Vegas.
Yes.
Big speakers.
Yes.
Okay. You had to have your coffin.
Yes.
Okay. 2 turntables and usually Technique 1200s.
Right.
Okay. Your mixer. Okay. That's not including the records.
Right.
Okay. That's not including the plugs.
Right.
Okay. Then you got to set everything up.
Right.
Okay. And hopefully you have a good night, and hopefully those people don't try to say, I'm short, I could only pay you this, because you know we've all gotten, you know, I DJ'd some embarrassing parties, man, where like, you know, the groom got so damn drunk he started flirting with the, you know, the other.
I've seen that. Yes, I got
I remember one time I did a quinceañera for these Greek. They were Greek. They had a quinceañera, okay, and then the mother wanted to raise money, so she said, let's just do a dollar dance. You don't do a dollar dance
to raise money to.
So
wow.
But listen, I want to hold that thought. We're gonna come back after break. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, and then we're gonna pick up on the mixer. Okay. A little bit about the mixtapes. Okay. And there's some other interesting questions that I need to ask you pertaining to DJing.
Okay.
All right, cool. So once again, you're listening to Roadium Radio episode 21 with Tony A from the city of Wilmington, MC Pancho from the city of San Pedro. The harbor area is in the house. Call somebody, text somebody, slap somebody, page somebody, and let them know that we are live here on Roadium Radio, and we're back in about 10 minutes. Yo, welcome back, everybody, to Roadium Radio episode 21 with Tony A, MC Pancho. Before we get back to my interview, a couple of things I want to announce. Once again, you can actually hear this after on Spotify, on Anchor and Apple Podcast, as well as YouTube. Once again, I'm pushing the Roadium Mixtape Documentary. You don't want to miss it. Okay. Like I said, I put it up against any West Coast documentary out there. It's just different. It's an untold story, and I have many legends in there that confirm that everything that I'm saying is true. That Steve Yano was a cornerstone to West Coast hip hop. So, other than that, I wanted to make an announcement that for 2020, I'm gonna have more female singers and more female rappers on Roadium Radio. A lot of people have been DMing me, inboxing me, and leaving me comments, when are you gonna have more females? Well, I will. I've already booked many of them, actually. I'm booked up until March. I'm going to have many surprise guests. There'll be times where I'll just post up surprise guest Sunday without putting their picture up for you guys to log in and see who that is. Also, people leave me comments on YouTube, and I'm going to make this announcement. I'm not going to be responding to any more of those comments because it's overwhelming. When there's over 400 comments, I can't reply to everyone. Sometimes many people send me their music through a DM on Instagram or on Facebook, and I tell you, do not DM me or inbox me any music. Send it to roadiumradio@gmail.com. Okay, if you have an artist that you want to suggest, I'm not going to be reading my YouTube comments. I'm going to say that again. I'm not going to be reading my YouTube comments. Go ahead and leave all the comments you want. But if you have a suggestion on an artist, or you want to submit music, or you want to leave a comment, email it at roadiumradio@gmail.com. Even if you just want to leave a comment that you can't stand my ass, roadiumradio@gmail.com. We'll make sure to get back to you in a timely manner. And once again, without further ado, MC Pancho is in the building.
We're back.
First of all, man, I'm having a great time because just talking music, just talking history, just talking DJing, that's like my cup of tea. So I know you told me you did mixtapes starting in the 80s. On these mixtapes, did you rap on any of them?
Yes, what I did, Tony, was I did an intro. I did an intro and an outro. And these tapes were made off of this mixer right here, this Newmark, and 2 Technique 1200s. So it was nonstop music. I would do a little intro in the beginning, and then I would just play whether it was oldies, old school, or slow jams. Those were the 3 that I specialized in. Okay. And it was just nonstop music, just blending into one right after another.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Was there any blendings, cutting, scratching?
Yeah. On the old school ones, a little bit of scratching that my DJ did. And but the majority, the oldies and the slow jams, I did those myself in my back room. So they would just blend, or I would just fade or echo fade out,
And you were just doing it pretty much for the love of the music, pretty much.
That was it. I wasn't making any money off of these. I mean, when you figure how much I was paying to have them printed, how much then I had to have them shrink wrapped. Now, once I had them shrink wrapped, they became real popular because they were sent throughout the California prison system. So what had happened? Oh, this is a story right here, Tony. A friend of my mother's. My mom's always tied up into every story.
Awesome.
A friend of my mother's comes in and tells my mom, there's this guy by the name of MC Pancho, the #1 Sancho, and he makes these tapes. And, you know, being that my mom was real hip, she goes, maybe you know him, or Frankie, which they called me. Maybe Frankie knows this guy. So my mom's like, why? Well, is he in trouble? What's going on? She goes, oh, my son's incarcerated, and somebody has his cassettes there. You know, they got him through a package, and he wants them. So can we get him to him? My mom laughed, and she goes, so you don't know who MC Pancho, the #1 Sancho is? And she's like, no, that's why I'm asking you. And she laughed, and she goes, or Frankie. And then she goes, well, that is Frankie.
Wow.
So I come home, my mom tells me, she's like, you know, hey, you know, my friend Teddy wants a set. How many do you have? At that time, I think I had 5 volumes. And she goes, how much would you charge her? And then after I go, charge? I go, he's incarcerated?
Right.
I go, I'll give him to him. You know, so tell her to come pick him up. And, you know, I go, how's he going to get him? She goes, they send him in the package. So just as long as they're factory sealed. So they were getting them shrink wrapped somewhere, and they were sending them in the package. And then he wrote back, and, you know, he thanked me, and he sent me a nice letter. And he's like, what are you into? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we have crafts in here, you know, leather, art, whatever. And I go, you know, I like artwork. So this gentleman started sending me artwork. And you came to my art show.
Yeah.
And I have the biggest prison art collection in history, and it all tied into those mixtapes.
Wow.
Because word got out. This gentleman got transferred to another prison. They heard him on the yard there. It was like, hey, how can we get him? Hey, hit up Pancho. He likes artwork. You know, send him some drawings. I'll send you some tapes. And this was now going into the early 90s. And yeah, they took off in prison.
Wow. You know, it's funny. I have a boy named Gritty Greg. Much love to Gritty Greg. He's Quick's second to none's AMG's former manager. Okay. And we just talked recently because he's trying to figure out how to get his music, his new artists in the prisons.
I know now it's different. I guess they have catalogs and stuff like that. So you got to go through the catalog. Then once I know they got a hold of my covers, because my covers, you know, it had that cholo estilo to it. You know, I mean, some of them had artwork, and actually, like the East Side Stories had photos. Well, I started putting photos on my cassette covers, and being that they were called the Harbor Area Sounds, I started putting pictures. You know, back then they still had cameras on the yards in prison, so guys would send me pictures of guys from Wilmas, Pedro, Gardena, Long Beach, the whole harbor area.
Right.
They would be on my cassette cover.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. And I know some of these covers, you had them on display at your last show.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. Now, so now you picked up the mic, you're rapping on these, you're blending them. You know, one thing that we have to remember also, that many old school songs weren't made with drum machines, they were made with live drummers. So a good DJ would actually have to ride the record to make sure it's on time.
Exactly.
Or else your mix is going to sound like a pair of shoes in the dryer.
Right.
You know, so I understand that, because we heard, I think somebody at the Scamming Jam sounded like they had a pair of shoes in the dryer. And it's funny because real DJs actually look at each other when somebody does like a bad mix.
Yeah.
We kind of look at each other from the corner of our eyes.
What happened?
Right, exactly. But okay, so now I know you evolved from the DJing, from the mixtapes, and how did you get? Because if I'm correct, you were actually did a voice on a video game.
Yes, San Andreas Grand Theft Auto. Actually got IMBD credit for that. That's something that everybody wants from acting to, you know, they want those credits. And I was heavy into video games, you know, as a kid, from Atari to what was it, Nintendo to PlayStation 2, which was a very hard box to get. It was hard to get that box. They were like really in demand, the PS2s.
Yes.
So I was fortunate. I had a connection of a fella that was supplying the Lakers, and I got mine. I remember me and my wife were like, hey, we got ours before Shaq and Kobe, like a day before, because he was making drop-offs. So a dear friend of mine at the time, you know, Kid Frost, Frostalini Loco, he knew I was into those games. So he was like, he goes, hey, Pancho, man, I know you're into these games, and I'm doing a voiceover for this game, San Andreas Grand Theft Auto by Rockstar. They need some voices. Would you be interested? So I'm like, yeah. So I went into the studio and I did the drop. And once they seen that I could read, they gave me another. I did one of the voices of one of the characters in there, the leader of the Azteca gang. And then I did the car hop. And I didn't think I was going to get paid. I would have done it for free. And I remember they broke me off like $1,500.
Wow.
And then I got the game, of course, before everybody else did. A day before it released.
Wow.
And it was cool. So that game was the game of the year.
Wow.
You know, you had big names in there.
You know, it's funny because I remember when PS2 first came out, my brother had one, and really by that time I only wanted to play one game, which is John Madden. You know, I love playing football, and that was the only game I played. What games, for an example, did you play on PlayStation 2?
We did the Madden. I would talk my wife into playing, but I'd always cheat and do the onside kicks, offside, whatever, and all that. So she would get mad, and yeah. So Madden, of course, was one.
Okay, who's your football team?
You know, Tony, I don't have a team. That's the thing that people trip on. I have more Raider gear than anything for the colors, because we wore those colors back in the days for other reasons.
Right.
I liked the Cowboys at one time because of Tom Landry, because I'm a dresser. I like to dress. And Tom Landry was the sharpest dresser on the sidelines, if anybody knows who that is. And that's why I thought, oh, so you know, okay, well, I was a Cowboy fan at one time. Roger Staubach, Too Tall Jones, Tony Dorsett. I followed. And I'm going to give you my cards since I know you're a Cowboy fan.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give you my cards.
Wow. Let's do it online so everybody can see.
Okay, we will.
I'm calling you on that.
All right. I'll be back for that.
Dope. So you did that video game. What came after that for Pancho?
Not much. Believe it or not, that video game I want to say was in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So 2006, I lost my mother. And I went into some heavy mourning from that point on, from 2006 to 2008. 2008 comes. MC Pancho was a has-been. Actually, MC Pancho was a has-been from the cassettes because I never transformed into a CD. You know what I mean? So that name still traveled, but of course we didn't have social media. You know, I wasn't heard of. I was, how can you say it? I never completed what I started. You know, I never completed what I started. So 2006, like I said, I lost my mom. For 2 years, I went into mourning. I ran into a gentleman named Seven from Halified Records, and he had just came back from Japan, and it was at the Majestic's New Year's party. So my wife, Chamarita, had got me out of the house to attend this event, which I really didn't want to go to. And he was telling me he came back from Japan, and he was rapping out there, and that there was this promoter that was sending for people. And so that day I remember, and how weird, it was New Year's Day. It was New Year's Day of 2000. Wow. You know, it just clicked right now. That was New Year's Day, Tony.
Wow.
So we start talking, me and my wife, and well, she was my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, you don't want to make a comeback and do your mixtapes? You know, it'll be your 10-year anniversary. This is 2008, sorry. And from 1988. And then after I looked at her, I go, I've never been in the studio. You know, I've only been in the studio once with Thump Rap Radio with Bill Walker, and Frost got me into that. And that was once. And I go, I've never been in the studio. Like, to do what? And she goes, your mixtapes. And I go, those are played out 1988 songs that only went so far, you know, on cassette. And she's like, well, just to say you did it. Well, what it was she was pushing me to do that to keep me busy.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So I really didn't want to do it. And I go, who am I going to get at? And she's like, get at Seven. So I go, he's doing stuff. He just got back from Japan. He's doing big things. He ain't got time for me. So she goes, it ain't going to hurt to try. I'll fund it. She goes, I'll pay for it. What's it going to cost to do a CD? I have no idea. I've never done a CD. So like I said, this is 2008. I call Seven, hoping that he's going to tell me no, that, you know, he's too busy or he's got a full plate. He tells me I could get you in the studio tomorrow. Are you up for it? I'm like, oh man, really? I was hoping you'd say no.
Right.
So I said, all right, I'll be there. So I go there. What the hell am I going to do? Like, what songs am I going to do? I've been out of it for so long. So I went in there and I started doing some songs I did when I was 18. Now I'm in the studio. Now I don't have to start all over. He could punch me in. He could stop where I messed up. And, you know, and I had never had access to that because all my cassettes were done, like I said, on that mixer in my back room off of 2 turntables. So we ended up doing this song. And he's telling me that there's a gentleman sending a crew down here to do a documentary on the culture, which they were titling Chicano culture. And we could get into that, and you could ask me questions on that, because Chicano isn't really a culture. You know, it's a Mexican-American, and I go day and night, I mean, all along arguing what a Chicano is or what Chicano rap is, you know. And so he goes, they're going to come down, they're going to interview people on Chicano culture. Would you be interested? So it's weird how it came to. I go, I don't even have a complete CD. What are they going to ask me? He goes, it ain't going to hurt. Just have them come, Are you interested? So I said, yeah, I'll do it. He goes, it'll promote what you're working on. Yeah. So they came down and they interviewed me and they were happy, and they went to different areas, to Torrance, Pedro, Compton, San Diego. They traveled. They took the information back, the video footage and everything back to the main man that was funding this project. And he had seen my interview, and he's like, I like this guy. And he showed it to a DJ out in Japan, a DJ that, spins out in Japan, who happened to buy my cassettes in 1988 at the Try It Indoor. So he's like, this is MC Pancho that did the Harbor Sounds of mixtapes. And then he's like, we thought he was either dead or in prison. He's like, no, he's doing his first CD at the age of 38 in 2008. Wow. And it's like, okay, we got to get him out here. So now I'm working with Seven, we're in the studio, and he's telling me, hey, would you ever, go to Japan? I'm like, to do what? What the hell am I going to do out there? And he's like, no, just to come out, and I go, yeah. He goes, get your passport ready, get your passport. So we're in the studio. We're ready to do, this drop. And I have my compadre in there with me. And this gentleman in Japan had sent for a lot of people. He has been sent for Shadow, Seven, quite a few individuals he was sending for. Wow. And he wrote a book, because there's a whole story behind this man, and we could go on, and that'd be another episode. But he did some heavy time in the federal prison system. Wow. And he was Japanese, didn't know any English, but he kicked it with the raza. So he wrote a book. So I'm in the studio ready to do this one song that I did from 1988 when I was 18. Right. I got my compadre in the studio, and he interrupts this whole session with Seven. And he's like, hey, comp, you got to see this book. You got to see this book. And I'm like, I'm doing something right now. I'm trying to, do this drop. And he's like, no, you got to see this. You got to see this. So I go, okay, I'll get with you in a minute. So, okay, Seven, let's get back to it. So we get back to it. He interrupts again. He's like, no, you really got to see this book. He did it 3 times, Tony, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Shout out to my compadre, Sniper, who did that. It was very embarrassing. And I go, what is so important that I got to see who's in this book? And then after he goes, you. And I'm like, what do you mean me? And there was a picture of me and Chamarita in this man's book that he had wrote, all in Japanese, from Japan, from his life story of traveling and doing time in throughout the systems in the U.S. So I'm like, how did I get in this book? Because it was in the crease of a page that Seven even bypassed it. And you can't write this. It sounds like a written script, right? But it's not. So I'm like, how did I get in this man's book? So Seven was shocked, and he's like, well, he's going to be calling, and he wants to talk to you. So we waited for the call. It didn't come for like another 2 days. And I talked to him, and, he spoke good English because, of course, he was out here and he learned English. And I go, I got one question. I go, there's a book, I'm in your book. You want to send for me because you've seen the interview that I did, and, because I'm making a comeback. And how did I get in your book? He goes, you're in my book? I said, yeah, turn to that page. And I showed him. He goes, that's you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, when I was this man had been in isolation for, I think it was like 3 or 4 years, and he was losing his mind. He was going insane. Because everybody that would approach him, he didn't know the language. He didn't know the game, bottom line, of prison in the U.S. So anybody that would approach him, he didn't know what they wanted from him. If they're trying to take something from him or what, he would fight. So finally, no prison. He traveled. He traveled from, they would transfer him to different places. Finally, they isolated him for a remainder of years, and he had no contact. Somebody slipped him a Teen Angel magazine. And I'm, tight with Teen Angel. There's a story behind me and Teen Angel. That's a whole nother story. Teen Angel, the magazine. The magazine, okay. Yeah. That was our social media in that era. Everybody wanted to be in Teen Angel in the early 80s. So somebody had slipped him a Teen Angel magazine, and he would look at it and pretend that he knew the people in there, and that's what kept his sanity. Wow. So he would look and point them out like, okay, that's my friend, that's my family, and like that. Well, there was a picture of me and Chamarita, and he said we look like cool people, and he pretend he knew us. And who in the hell, Tony, would ever think that I would meet this man how many years later? And he'd be sending for me to go to Japan. That's why I said my story is it's not written. You would think it is, but it's not. Wow.
Okay. So you get to Japan the first time.
Yeah.
And you meet this man.
Yes.
What takes place?
Well, they had a surprise for me because a week before I was leaving, I thought I'm just going with Seven, and I'm going to be like his I don't know, his hype man, or I'm going to be just on stage and just stand and post up. I didn't think I'm going to perform.
Right.
So Seven asks me like a week before, he goes, you can still perform. When was the last time you performed? I'm like, in the backyard, like, I don't know, like 1992 or something like that. And then he goes, but you can still do it. I'm like, oh yeah, all I need is one mic. Give me a mic, I could do it. And then, you know, I'm, you know, getting a little cocky with him. And he's like, okay, good, because he showed me the flyers and I had 3 shows booked. Now I'm in the panic zone, like, oh, hell no, I ain't going out there. Oh, no, you better tell him I'm not going. There ain't no way I'm going to fucking go to do this one song. I've never done that. And he's like, look on the bright side. They don't speak English. So if you mess up, they're not going to know it anyway. So, and you're getting a free trip to Japan. You can't beat that. So I told him, I said, no, man, you should have never put this on me. You should have never put this on me. I didn't think I was going for that. And he's like, well, you are. So I remember I'd come home from work and I'd be practicing like a nutcase in the living room, trying to throw the mic and catch it and do these weird moves that I never did before and stuff. And I'd tell my wife, how does this look? She's like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. You better not do that. You better not do that. And I was doing all this weird stuff. Well, how does this? Does that look gangster? Does that look cool? And she would laugh at me. She was my audience. So I went out there. And well, when I went out there, I mean, they had a press conference. They had magazines that we have here, Rolling Stone magazine, different ones, and they were asking me all these questions. I had all these mics lined up like I was, you know, getting drafted in the NFL or something, and I'm answering questions like, wow, like this, I can't believe I'm out here at 38 years old. You know, I'm completing what I never did, because I was, like I said, I will say it, you know, I was washed up. I was a has-been. MC Pancho was a thing of the past, you know. I didn't think at 38 years old that I would be doing that.
Well, let me say this. I appreciate your honesty, because few people would say that. You know, few people. I like to consider myself to be a very humble and modest person, that when people actually pay me compliments, and I share this with you, I don't know how to behave. I don't know what to say. I actually had to share that with one of my older brothers, and he just said, just say thank you, Tony. Just say thank you. So believe me, I know how you feel, because there was a time that I took a break from music, like 10 to 12 years, you know, to help raise to raise my kids.
Right.
Okay. And when I decided to kind of like, let me give it one more go around. Okay. I heard it. You're a washer. You never fell in, or you fell out. What are you going to do? And I'll be honest with you, I knew that I can still DJ. I knew that I could still produce, but I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do anymore. But I knew it had to be somehow music orientated. Right. You know, so little by little, I started DJing again. That's when I got acquainted with DJ Quick in 2006, when I met Seven.
Oh, okay.
That's how I met Seven. 2006, Micah. Rest in peace.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine as well.
Contacted me through MySpace. You know, that's when MySpace was like the hottest thing. You know, and he contacted me and he says, "Hey man, I'm a big fan." I didn't know who in the hell this guy was, and we were communicating through MySpace. You know, and then he tells me, "I want you to do a mixtape for my boy Seven." And I said, "Who's your boy Seven?" I had never heard of him. Right. I had seen Seven on his website, and I thought he looked like some, you know, chubby gangster dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, this fool from Torrance, he ain't gonna like me. I'm from Wilmington, you know? But we actually came here, and I actually did his mixtapes with all of his songs in this very same studio. You know, I was in here by myself, and I did it, handed it to him. They loved it. I introduced Seven to my son. My son even liked him. I thought Seven is one of those guys that has a dope voice, but he fell under that as soon as other rappers found out that he wasn't black,
he fell under the Chicano Rap.
The Chicano Rap, you know, umbrella, if you will.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a sad thing, because I had a lot of my black friends that would say, that fool is dope.
Yeah.
Who in the hell is that?
Right.
And then I would say, that's him. You know, they're like,
And it just didn't go with what he was. Yeah, exactly. You
know, so I understand. That's why my whole thing is, look, I'm not looking to get accepted by anybody else. And I'm hoping that our talent just speaks for itself. Whether you're black, whether you're raza, or you're not. But I am trying to shed light on people that have talent, especially our own people. Right. You know, that's what I want to do. So now you're in Japan, you come back. What is your next move after that?
Well, the whole Japan was going back to being there in Japan. It was a healing process of you know, going, you know, what I was going through with my mother. So everything happened for a reason, Tony. I was, like I said, I was there for a reason. I didn't, at 38 years old, doing songs that I did when I was 18 on a mixtape. It was too good to be true. And so the last day they take us to the temple, you know, and it's a Buddhist temple, and I don't know anything about that religion. And I guess I was there for a reason because, you know, you go through this process. Number one, you light these incense, you put it in a sand pit. And the whole purpose of lighting them is to get the smoke from the incense on you, to cleanse you. So this is summertime and it's hot. There's no breeze. I mean, it was hot out there. Out of nowhere, this breeze came, and I had a camera crew with me and photographers and everything. And they videoed. They got photos. And it was the smoke just coming towards me. You know, there's even pictures of it, you know, of just the smoke coming all at me. And even the Japanese that were there were looking at me weird, like, wow, that's kind of strange. And then the next thing was to do this, a fortune. They have like this box, and you shake it and a chopstick will pop out, and it has Japanese letters on it. And then there's like a chest of drawers that you open, and there's a paper and there's a scroll, and that's your fortune. So you pull it out and you read it, and if it's good, you take it with you. If it's bad, you leave it like on a little clothesline with a little clothespin, and it's supposed to, you know, get better. I had a bad fortune. It was really bad. So the translator had seen it, and she wanted me to grab another one. And I told her, no, that's my fortune right there. Can you read it to me? And she didn't want to read it to me. So I told her, I said, well, I'll find somebody to read it. And then I turned it over. I go, shit, it's in English. You know, it had English in the back. So I read it, and what it said was, you have traveled so far to say goodbye to, I might be off on a few words, to someone, and you're holding on and you have to let go. And it said, you've traveled too far, and that's not what this individual wants. You're carrying a very heavy weight on your back, and eventually you'll become hunchback and a hermit. So you need to learn to say goodbye.
Wow.
During that whole time in Japan, like I said, I had camera people with me up to that moment. At that point, I mean, you couldn't even pick your nose without them getting a picture of it, because they were on me everywhere. Right. At that point, they just gave me my time to grieve, and that's where I broke down. I started crying, and I knew what that meant. Of course, you know, I knew exactly what that meant, and it cleansed me. I just felt so much better after the last show that we did. I remember Micah and Seven. We all went back to the rooms, because these shows went on till like 7 in the morning. You know, wow. Japanese in Japan they party till the sun comes up. You know, wow. And I remember going back to the room, and I was crying like a baby, because I just had to, you know, I was there for a reason, and that's what it was. Well,
you know, one thing that I would say that we have a lot in common, because my mother was my best friend. Okay. And even though I was el más diablo out of all the kids, I was like the worst. I caused her pretty much the most pain. So when she passed, everything that I did, like that hurted her, it almost felt like if it hit me hard. You know, it was very, very hard for me to look at myself and to really think like, wow, that was me. I caused her all of that pain. You know, one thing that I always wanted to do, I always wanted to make my mother proud. Okay. And if you ask me, honestly, Pancho, I don't think I ever did. And I'll be honest, my sisters and everybody tell me, you did. I don't think I ever did. And I have to live with that now, because my mother is no longer here. That's why I encourage even the youth today. What I believe is you honor your father and your mother. You really do. You really have to, because one day they may not be here, and all the things that you thought you got away with, it's going to come back. Yeah. It's going to come back, and it's interesting that a Japanese man was somewhat instrumental in your life, because I also had a Japanese man.
Yeah, I see that, and I admire the way you pay homage to him, and you keep putting that out there. And I hear it because I listen to all your podcasts, and the way you put it out on how he gave you that chance, and how so yes, we do have a lot in common. Yeah. And back to your mother is proud of you, Tony, because she's here watching what you're doing. You're setting an example, like this, what you call the platform. It is a platform, because no one else is doing this. You go to these other channels and you hear people glorifying a lifestyle and woofing this and woofing that. And people are intrigued by that. They want to hear you're doing something positive. You're giving people an opportunity to talk. And anybody that doesn't take you up on that offer, you know, they're missing out. They're missing out big time. You know, you're playing a very, very big role. And I know you're not into compliments and all that, but you are playing a very big role. And they never leave us, you know, spiritually. So you are making people proud, including your mother.
Thank you. You know, believe me, I greatly appreciate your words. I lost my father now, I want to say 2 years ago. And that one was very hard, because he lived down the street. And many times when I get up and I want to go get breakfast, the first thing that pops into my mind is like, well, I'm going to call my dad to see if he wants to go. But I remembered he's no longer there. And I'll be honest with you, and I don't have a problem confessing this. There's times that I walk by his apartment, you know, hoping maybe I'll see him hanging out outside waiting for me to pick him up. You know, because I had to pick him up for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, or whatever the case may be. But I'll tell you, when you lose your parents, man, there's an emptiness that there's nothing that can fill it, man.
No, you know, and I know, you know, because we both are going through it, still going through it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. So let's press pause right there, like on a mixtape. Okay. We're gonna take a break. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the shows that you've been on, whether there be movies or TV specials that you were on. And then we're going to give our shout outs, promote whatever we want to promote. And then I got two little tiny guests that I want to introduce at the very end.
Okay, cool. So, looking forward to that.
Once again, Roadium Radio, episode 21 with MC Pancho, the Harbor areas in the house. Make sure you call someone, let them know that MC Pancho is in the building, and we'll be back with more Roadium Radio. So once again, stay tuned. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Roadium Radio, episode 21 with MC Pancho. Before we get back into our interview, once again, the Roadium Mixtape Documixery. You can actually download the mixtapes there. You can buy my apparel there. But today I'm actually wearing the shirt that MC Pancho blessed me with.
That's Pocho wear right there. Thank you for wearing that, Tony. Yes, thank you.
Pocho wear. Much love and respect to them. And once again, in 2020, we're going to be featuring more women. I've already booked quite a few women already because people have always been telling me, why don't you get more women? Why don't you get more women? You know, I'll be honest with you, if they would just pick up their phone, then maybe I can, you know. The bad thing is that when you DM one of them or you message one of them, they right away think, oh, you're trying to get at them. Well, the good thing is many of these females I know already. So, you know, they don't think that.
Right.
But as a matter of fact, Sunday, we'll be having an up-and-coming female artist. She's got her own band. She's already performed at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Oh, wow. And I think good things are going to be coming her way. Her music's different. And the reason why I decided to interview her because I like different. You know, I like different. So once again, I want to ask you a controversial question that I've been asking pretty much everybody. Before we get into the question that we talked about during break, my question to you is, what is Chicano Rap?
Thank you. I've been waiting for this. I want to defend this. Chicano Rap, okay, first off, I've said it over and over. A Chicano is not a culture. A policeman, a doctor, a lawyer, a cholo, it could be a Chicano as long as you're, you know, of Mexican descent, but born in the U.S. You know, you're Mexican American. That's what a Chicano is. I caught myself in past interviews saying I'm representing the Chicano culture, and I had to correct myself because I go, it's not a culture. It's actually something that, honestly, we don't even have a name for. I identify as a cholo. I call myself that, and I say that proudly. But like I said, the next person who might be, you know, police officer, he might not want to be categorized with me and be like, no, I'm a Chicano and he's a Chicano, but I'm nothing like him, you know, or vice versa. So the rap that I did, I labeled it at one time barrio rap because I rapped about what I seen in the neighborhood. Okay. I rapped about it was simple, plain. 1988 was when I was doing that, and you know, whether I said ese, cholo, vato, and you know, I did all that, it was cholo rap. Years later on, I always said the headquarters of Chicano Rap was La Mirada, Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet, because I would see the signs, we carry Chicano Rap, and I always supported it because I said, hey, that's what I did on the cassettes, you know.
Yes.
So I would support it. Now I looked at it like my era, me, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for anybody else because I did that back then. And those that don't know me because I didn't have social media back then or any of that, I could honestly say I poisoned that because I fucked it up for the talented ones like your Seven that we talked about, Misfit Soto, the most talented rappers in this game. I'm not up to par with any of these dudes that are doing it. You know, I could say I was way before their time, but not up to par. They get thrown in, oh, you're a Chicano rapper. And I understand why they don't want that title. You know what I mean? I address it. You know, my whole campaign was Chicano Rap Made Me Do It. I have it on shirts. I have it on my license plate. I have it on quite a few different things, on hats. And I embrace that term, but these guys don't want to, and I understand. It's something that was just put on us, because if they say Mexican, then you're gonna think it's banda, it's Mexicano, it's you know what I mean?
Of course.
So the Chicano sounds, to whoever put this label on, more gangster, and it ran with it. Okay, now it's just a pelon, which I've always had hair, bald-headed, tattooed Chicano rapper. And it messes the game up for all these most talented artists that are out there now doing it.
Yes.
And I understand why they don't want to be labeled as that. And I was telling my wife one time, I go, people like me, and I won't mention any other names, I'll just speak for myself, we kind of fucked that up for the upcoming talented artists, because we were considered that, and now they're considered that, and it's a chain that's really got to be broken, because Eminem isn't an Anglo-Saxon rapper, or the blacks are an African-American Negro rappers, I mean, they're just rappers. So why are you gonna label us, or even radio play? We never even got the radio play.
Right. Only a few of us actually got radio play, and I always mention this part, that when even when Proper Dose came out, okay, there was Frost, and I'm just talking about radio play. There was Frost, there was Lighter Shade of Brown, if you will. Who was the other? Maybe AOT had Tequila, that song Tequila.
Yeah, me and AOT were label mates. I know AOT were about, yeah.
And then we had Proper Dose, that they were able to get some radio play. And then the sad thing is, even High C, being a black guy, got labeled.
He was in that category.
Yeah, he was in that category. Yeah. But during that time, what I liked about that time, that we were just considered artists.
Right.
Now the sad thing is that it's all, like I said, if you had a son that just wanted to rap, oh, he's Chicano rapper.
Right.
Automatically.
Right.
So I guess, my next question is, do you think that's a good thing to be labeled?
For people like me, yes.
Okay.
For people with talent, and I'll say it, for people with talent that are out there that want to be really taken seriously, because I'm fortunate that I'm here doing this interview, with you and telling my story. It only went so far for me, through that, and I'm happy. I mean, it got me to Japan, it got me into television, it got me into many. It opened the doors to many other things, rapping about what I seen in the neighborhood. That's what that Chicano rap falls on. Not to a very talented person that's making their own music, producing and rapping and singing. So no, I don't think it's good for them. I mean, it needs to be broken. That chain needs to be broken. I'll embrace it. Chicano Rap Made Me Do It all day. I'll say it. But for other people that are upcoming in the game, no.
Right.
They're artists. They're artists. Period.
Right. That's the way I like to see them, and I like to identify them as artists.
Yeah.
Now I know. We kind of didn't touch on this earlier, but I want to touch on it now since you brought up rapping in the neighborhood. Growing up, who was either the first rapper you heard, you saw, or that possibly inspired you to rap?
Well, Ice-T inspired me. A lot of people would tell me, "Oh, you're the Chicano Ice-T."
Okay.
The same style that we had. I've even my flow is a lot like his. It's real simple. It's a real simple flow.
Yes.
And I played Ice-T's music before. Once I played it for my wife, and she's like, "When did you do that?" I go, "That's not me. That was Ice-T." So the similarities.
Right.
But the very, very first that turned me on, and maybe you could help me with this, Tony.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go way back. It was the Buffalo Rap. Now, if you remember Buffalo Gals,
yes,
there was a cassette that was circulating, I want to say 1982, 83, and there was a guy by the name of Casper that was on
the
it.
Mix Master.
Thank you, Tony. See, me and Tony click because we're viejos. We've been around.
Exactly.
We've been around. And the first time I ended up with that cassette because it circulated. And I ended up with that cassette, and I was like, who in the hell is that? It was something he made, I guess, out of his room or whatever, like what I did with the tapes. But that shit was on hit.
Let me tell you something about that guy. I don't know who that dude is, but if anybody knows who Casper the Mix Master was, his tapes were circulating here in the Harbor area.
Yes.
Maybe farther. I don't know. But I will say this. I don't know if it was a black dude, if it was a Asian dude or what.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing his voice on the cassettes.
He sang in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember he was the first guy that, I don't know what, because today they got names for different scratches, you know. Back then, you just cut, you know. I remember he was talking, and then he was the first guy that I heard him do the clap. You know, and I was like, what the hell is that? So, of course, you go home and you try to emulate that until I finally saw that in person, you know. But, yes, it was a Buffalo girl.
The Buffalo rap off the hobo scratch.
Yes.
He was using, he used the hobo scratch. He just flowed to it. Yeah.
So that was the first rap?
That was the first that I heard that said, I want to do this. Like, I want, you know, I've always had it in me to do it, you know. I didn't start rapping then. You know, I think I was 12, 13 years old when I heard that. But that was the first that really, like, oh, man, that, you know. Because
I remember he said, this is Casper, the Mix Master. And I was like, dude, you just opened up the vault right there, man. Shit, that shit is hard. If you guys don't know who Casper the Mix Master, you guys probably not from the Harbor area. So now, you went on to actually, if I'm correct, appear either in movies or television specials. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I thanks to my image and, you know, the tattoos, it got me into Hollywood. So people would look for me, and I never had an agent, and they would just find me and be like, hey, would you be interested in doing, you know, a pilot, or would you, or a trailer, or what have you? So you start from the bottom, you know, you work as an extra. I was a Mayan on Sons of Anarchy season 4. I did Dexter, CSI. Dexter is where I got all my vouchers to go union. NCIS, Southland, and then I made it to big screen, a movie called Java's Cage of Glory with Danny Trejo and Stephen Bauer, who played Manolo and Scarface. So I took it serious. I took acting classes, and you know, acting's always a thing that there's no age limit on. So now, I mean, I'm hosting what they call a host. I host at different clubs, and I'm still a longshoreman. That's my Monday through Friday. That's what you know, we eat off of. And I have fun with it on the weekends as a host in various
How long have you been a longshoreman?
Well, since 1988. So I'm going on, you know, it's funny, Tony, because we were talking about New Year's.
Right.
And then I got my ID, which is my registration, in December, New Year's Eve of 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, I got my ID in December of, New Year's Eve.
Did you ever plan on retiring?
I have the years, but I don't have the age. I'm 49, so I don't have the age right now.
What do you got to hit, like a golden 80 or something?
I don't even think I'll make it that far. I mean, if I could get out now, there's so many things that I would like to do. Well, I could still walk and you know, maybe get back into the acting, or, you know, or travel.
Okay. Wow. Now, what about DJing? Do you still dabble?
No, because I still have my turntables, and as you know, I brought this mixer, and it's not hooked up. My wife's been on me for the longest to hook it back up so I could spin for her and do it in the living room. But I brought this mixer for a reason, and I don't know if you're ready for me to speak on that, or
Go for it.
Okay. Well, this mixer that you see right here is a Newmark 1700. This is what the Harbor area sounds were made from. This mixer is bulletproof. And by saying bulletproof, it saved my life. My mom took the bus, saved up the money to buy this for me, to give me a different alternative of being out there with the homies. Because, you know, I am a homie. You know, I am from the neighborhood. I am a homie. I put that out there. And it saved my life. And this is like gold to me. My mother bought this for me in 1987 going into 88. And you being a very positive person in what you're doing, Tony, with this platform, and I seen the piece that you did with Night Owl and Misfit, you know, getting them to shake hands. You don't see that. That's something like what my dad did back in the days. And I'm just so, you know, I support you to the fullest in everything you do. So I'm giving you this mixer.
Oh,
now this mixer was from my mother, and yeah, I'll take my shades off when I say this. This is yours. I'm leaving this here. This is yours, brother. Wow. All right. So,
okay, I'm about to go hide under the table real quick because.
So you know what this means,
yes,
you know,
yes.
to me, and you know, just I'm passing the torch. I mean, but you have that torch lit high right now with what you're doing with this podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what,
and it works. It works.
I believe it. Here's what I would do, okay? Because me and my boy John right here, this guy is my right hand man. Okay, I don't do anything without telling him. Okay, here's what I would do when we have either a 1 year anniversary of Roadium Radio, or possibly the 100th, you know, show. We've been talking about possibly throwing a party. Okay, and here's what I want to do. I got some. I call them brand new because they're refurbished. Okay, and I want to rent a hall. throw a party, invite everybody, and I'm going to use this mixer.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why. Because today's DJs don't know what the hell this is.
No, I did. We do these shows in Santa Ana, you know, called Firme Sundays. I'm the host of them. And they wanted me to spin one time. And I had to bring this mixer. And the younger DJs, DJ Omar God, Cancun Joy, DJ Fana, they looked at me and they're like, what the hell is that? And then I go, if you want me to spin, you got to bring that, you know, you got to hook that up. So I brought this, they hooked it up. Then I was like, where's the quarter at? Where's the quarter? I got to put the quarter on the, you know, on the shell. And they laughed at me. They go, just try it, Pancho. It ain't going to jump. It ain't going to jump. And then that's when I knew I was shaking. You know, I was shaking. I was like, holy shit, you know. Then after I got a little confident and I was, you know, I did my little thing. But yeah, I had to bring this mixer. And then of course, you know, they turned the turntables. I don't know if you did, but I had them standard. I had them standard. So I'm like, okay, well, I know it's asking too much, but can you guys? And they're no, that's too much.
see, now here's the thing to all the other DJs out there. Okay, one of the best DJs in the world, and I'm pretty sure you will agree, was DJ Joe Cooley.
Oh yes,
in the 80s, one of the fastest, one of the cleanest, one of the best, along with Tony G.
Yeah, you had Joe Cooley. Kit Kat was another one that was yeah.
These guys used these mixers, tore up parties, had their turntable standard, entered battles of the DJs, and won.
Right.
Never once that they ever turned their turntable sideways, claiming battle style back then.
Right.
You know, there wasn't there wasn't no battle style. If you just were good, you were good.
Right.
You know, but today it's very, very hard for me to DJ on mixers with Christmas lights because everything is pretty much buttons. Yeah. But I want to bring this back.
Well, yeah.
You know,
well,
so
that's yours now.
So I'll tell you what.
It's in your hands.
And when we do this, you come back and MC.
You got a deal. You heard it right there.
All good.
Yeah,
we'll even plug in the mic in here.
All right. Okay? Yeah. All right.
So we'll add a little echo with the little
the realistic.
Reverb.
Yeah. All right.
We'll do that, and everybody's invited who purchased the DOCUMIXERY. Let's say
yeah.
Do that.
Right. Push that. Yeah.
So now, you know, it's funny because when I said that I was going to be interviewing you, a couple of people said, "Yeah, that's the guy from the Mayan."
Okay. Well, I'm not on the Mayans this Mayan season, but I was on Sons of Anarchy. So a lot of people know me from that. Yeah.
That one.
I was a Mayan on Sons of Anarchy.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But now, are you planning to do any more acting? Is anybody calling? Do you still want to pursue that, or?
Yes, definitely, because that's something I feel that I kind of like a has been on, like I did with the music, because I didn't follow through on that. But I would say there's not an age limit, and being my schedule, I mean, my weekends, I've invited you and you've come out with me many times already. I've always got something going, so I don't really have the time to audition. But if something came up and if anybody's listening, I'm still with it.
No. As a matter of fact, the last scavenger, you're the one that introduced me to those Adios drinks.
Yeah.
Man, those damn blue
that's
drinks.
That's the strongest drink in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope though.
Yeah, it'll leave you with the blue tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the blue tongue. Wow. Okay. First of all, let me say this: that I don't even know how to thank you other than just say thank you, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it really, truly means a lot to me. You know, I had my boy Breakbeat Lou from New York, from the Bronx, down here. He's the one that released those compilation records, the Ultimate Breaks and Beats.
Breaks and Beats, okay. Yeah.
He was in my documentary, and I was going to give him like a copy of like Steve Yano's obituary. I said, look, I only have 2 left. I'll give you one. Because Steve is the one who bridged us together, if you will. You know, he was the only one in the West Coast that brought those records out here, and he gave them to Dre and he gave them to me. Okay. And then when he got real humble. He goes, no, Tony, please. I'm not even like worthy of it. You just keep it, man. And that's how I feel about this. So that's how, you know, I just want to say once again, thank you, and thank you to your wife, because I know how this feels. And, you know, to me, things like this are like the holy grail, man. You know
that's like I said, that's why I wanted to tell my story first about it. And then it was when I had digged it out right before we came, I couldn't find it. I had it in storage, and I go, it was right here. And then it got dark. I needed the flashlight. She's like, what are you doing? I go, don't worry about it. Don't worry. She goes, you're taking your mixer? Are you going to mix? And I go, don't worry about it. So she didn't even know what I was going to, you know,
Wow. Now, as far as your vinyl collection, do you still have it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have them on the suitcases. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a big vinyl.
That's dope. That's dope. Now, what are your plans for the future other than, I know you say you don't want to retire or you can't retire yet. You ever plan on taking back the mic again?
You know, it's my life, like I said, was paved a certain way. You know, I remember one time my mom telling me when she kind of like slow down, because she would always go out with us.
Yes.
We'd go to a lot of concerts, the Pacific concert groups that Alan Beck used to do back in the day, the Love Jams, and I'd always bring my mom with me. So it was always me, my chamarita, and my mom. And then there was a time when she didn't want to go no more, and I had front row seats, backstage pass. I'm like, Mom, we're gonna miss out. And she's like, there's gonna come a time when you're gonna have so many things to do that you're not going to know what to do on that day. And I'm like,
right.
No, you don't understand. I got front row, I didn't know that she's seen way beyond that,
right.
And that's where I'm at now. So I just take it day by day, whatever comes my way. I mean, I don't plan anything, and I've been real fortunate to travel, like Japan 7 times,
wow.
touch Hollywood, to
7
get into
times.
Hollywood. And just do the things that I've done and be here telling the story, and then be here sitting with you, because I bumped the Roadium tapes. I bumped those, because
awesome.
When I was doing my Harbor Sounds, Tony A was doing the Roadium, and I was like, what the hell is that? I can't compete with that. Like, what does he use? I just pictured this guy with like 10 turntables all lined up right there, and he's doing them all. I didn't know what a 4-track was or any of that. So, and my style was different, of course. I was just blending them in. This guy took it to another level.
It's funny you say that, because again, I take no credit other than say thank you, but Steve's the one who taught me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Dre's the one that told me about the 4-track, so I'm going to teach you how to use it.
Uh-huh.
I clearly told him I don't have 4 turntables.
Uh-huh.
Now in the DOCUMIXERY that we did, I actually had my son play me, and we shot it looking old. People actually thought it was me, but we actually put.
Oh, and it was your son playing you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah.
And we had 4 turntables going, and I'm narrating it pretty much saying, for some reason, everybody thought I had 4 turntables.
That's what we visioned. We seen that.
So I had him, do this and do this, and I said, but I didn't want to tell anybody my secret. When people said you're using 4 turntables, I would lie and say, yeah, because I didn't want nobody, because we were ahead of the game at that time.
Right.
So now there was one other question I wanted to ask you. Much love to Mr. D. If I'm correct, Southland Entertainment. I know you did a CD with him. Right. And with Frank V.
Right.
Can you share a little bit on how that came to be?
Well, like I said, my whole campaign was Chicano Rap made me do it. I had shirts. I had that on my license plate, everything, So D came at me in the right way. He was like, hey, man, we want to do a song called Chicano Rap Made Me Do It. And we want you to be part of this project. So I said, thank you, D. Thanks for asking me. And he goes, so it'll be on Southland Records, and are you down with it? I'm like, yeah. So, I gave him the blessing, and that's how I got in with Southland.
Okay.
And the only bad part was D wanted me on an intro, and he had me do the intro over the phone, because I could never, because he lives in Santa Clarita, he lives a distance, and it was hard for us to hook up. So I was like, he goes, oh, just do it on the phone. I go, do it on the phone? So I did it on the phone, and D kept repeating that. How I did my little intro earlier, like, oh yeah. Well, I must have said, oh yeah, like about 13 times in a row.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, D, I mean, people are going to hear that, and they're going to be like, damn, homeboy can't even do an intro, because that's what I did. And then he goes, oh, no, it sounds good. I'll just add some music to it. So that's how that project came about.
Wow. Yeah. When did that project come out?
Oh, gosh. I want to say 2011, I think, or 12.
Okay.
Yeah, 2012.
And did you ever do anything else? No.
No, that was pretty much it. I was briefly with Southland for a minute, shout out to them. And then I was with Halified, and now I'm just, taking it day by day.
Are you going to be doing anything with 7 pertaining to music?
No, I'm pretty much done with. Well, I say I'm done. I've retired. I don't know how many times I changed my name out from MC Pancho to Cadillac P to my Aztec name Guatemala. They go, all you do is you retire and you change. You come back with a different name.
Okay. How did Cadillac P come about?
2009, 2008 was my year, of course. Remember, I told you the comeback, and I just had to do something different. And I went, and I've always rode Cadillac, so I seen that XLR. That's the Cadillac of Cadillacs, and I seen it on this in the display room. And I had told it was actually a 9, and then they had the 8. So I told the guy, well, you don't understand. 2008 is my year. Can you take everything off the 9 and put it on the 8 to upgrade the 8? I go, I have to have the 2008. And the guy kept telling me, he goes, it's going to be cheaper if you just get the 9. So I debated. I didn't need a car at the time, Tony. I swear I didn't. But I went and bought that shit. I got to have this. Give me the 9. So when I rode that XLR, that's the Cadillac of Cadillacs. You know what I mean? The 2-seater, you know, the Corvette engine. I'm like, nah, man, my name's Cadillac P now. They're going to bury me with that car, you know.
Okay, first of all, I want to apologize for my grandbabies crying in the background because
that's okay.
You know, so please forgive me on that. Day. But once again, you know what? I'm going to give you an opportunity. I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on. If not, you can give your shout outs, man. Go ahead and take your time because I'm going to get something ready. Is that fine?
Yeah, sure.
Take your time. You can speak right into that camera right there.
I just want to give a shout out to everybody that supported me. You know, big shout out to Chamarita, my wife, who's really supported me throughout the years. And all the restaurants that feed us. Shout out to Scam and Jam, Original Mics, and some Harbor area people that mean a lot to me. Raul Molina, Gabriel Huerta, and Stony Galaz, much love. And Irene and the Senoras, much love. And thank you all for the support. You know, I love you. All right. Just everybody that supports us.
Okay, Johnny Boy, put me back on this camera right here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you guys my 2 bundles of joy. These are my grandbabies. This is Anthony, he's the oldest, and this is Vincent. And they were actually born in West Palm Beach, Florida. They lived in New Jersey. Now they're living back in Panama City, Florida. So once again, Anthony, Vincent, my grandbabies are Mexican, Italian, and Irish. So I want them to say hello to their grandma in Boston. That's where she's at. So they're making their YouTube Roadium Radio debut here. So let me tell you something. Having grandbabies is an amazing, amazing feeling. So I just wanted to bless you guys with the opportunity to meet them before they fly back tomorrow to Florida.
That is beautiful, and I'm glad to be part of this. This is epic right here, Tony.
Thank you.
You know, this is very different.
This little guy, I'm trying to get him into the screen right here. But anyways, okay, you guys. Once again, MC Pancho was here. I'd like to thank him very much for coming. I'd like to give credits where credit is due. I'm not going to say the way I usually say it, but I'd like to thank my boy John Elkins. I'm not going to say because my grandbabies are here. DJ Media Clips. I'd like to thank once again MC Pancho, his wife Chamarita for coming. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Once again, we have a female artist coming in on Sunday. You guys have been requesting female artists. I hope you guys support and tune in. Once again, we are on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So you can check us out there. Once again, the Roadium Mixtape Documentary. Please support the cause. Once again, Steve Yano, may you rest in peace. Other than that, let me see, do I have anything else to say? Anything else you want to say, brother?
No, just thank you again, Tony, for having me here. Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you. And thank you for the mixer. This is actually my Christmas gift, brother.
Merry Christmas,
the gift
brother.
of all gifts.
Right on,
so,
brother.
And everybody one day will eventually be blessed by this. So when I hook it back up and we throw this party,
all right.
It'll be awesome.
All right.
It'll be awesome. So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Roadium Radio, episode 21. We'll be back Sunday. Anthony, Vincent, say hello and bye.